Hello, ladies. How you doing tonight?
Pretty good. And yourself?
Pretty good. I want to welcome you all back to the solution. I'm gonna give everybody a chance to introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm mistaken. I'm from Chic Critique.
Hi, this is Inaz. This is Inaz across all platforms. Excited to get into this tonight.
Hello, my name is Raven, also known as Pretty Hustle 92.
All right, and I will be. I'm Gracie, and I'll be the host tonight. So let's just get right into it. Are multi-daters marriage material, ladies? And when I say multi-daters, I do mean people who date more than one person at a time. We can start off with Miss Taken.
Okay. I would say yes, but it depends on how you move. I think if you're in the early stages of like just meeting somebody, then I think you need to be honest about the fact that, right now, we're trying to get to know each other, and, I'm single, I'm out, I'm meeting other people, things like that. So I do think it's okay, but I don't necessarily think that you should have like a harem of dudes that you're just cycling through. So if it's like, maybe you've found two guys that you're that you're interested in, and you're dating to try to get to see, there's an attraction there for both, but you're trying to get to know each one to determine which one you may be more compatible with. And then once you narrow that down, then I do think you can go ahead and give your focus to that one person if he's made it clear that that both of you guys are on the same page about wanting to date with intention. And then I think that that's fine.
Okay, so it's safe to say that as long as you have that conversation with the person and let them know up front, this is what I'm doing, that's cool.
Right, exactly. Because if
Okay.
you're dating with intention, you want to be clear that my purpose in dating is with intention. I'm looking for a monogamous relationship, but right now I'm getting to know people to see who I'm compatible with. And I
Okay.
think that's fine.
All
Some dudes
right.
want you to be exclusive straight up and you don't even know them. So no. Mm-mm.
Chan, if you want to answer now, you can. I know you missed
What
the
was the question?
question.
I did. What's
You-
the
I
question?
was okay, so I was gonna say you can hop in now, or you can wait until the other lady speak, however you want to do it.
Oh, let
But the
me let
question
them
is
speak and then I'll give mine. I'm sorry. I just woke up.
okay.
My brain is kind of
No, you're good. You're good. The question was, are multi-daters I'm sorry, marriage material. So are you able to date multiple people?
okay.
Are they marriage material? Yeah. All
Okay.
right, but go ahead, pretty hustle.
That's a good question. So to piggyback off Miss Taken, I agree. When she mentioned that as long as you all communicate that, like, hey, we're dating, you're both trying to see what's out there, find someone who's compatible with you. What I take is for me, dating is just what it is. Dating. Until you draw the line and say, hey, we're just gonna be committed to each other. And like she said, dating with intention, I feel like you are free to date and get to know other people. See, I feel like that's where people mess up a lot. As soon as they meet someone, they try to tie themselves down quick without knowing what that other person wants to do. So that's where you get that situation where one person wants to be in a committed relationship, another person like, hey, you're moving too fast because you came in without the communication. Since we're talking your mind, but if you were dating, which is what it's called, you understand that you can get to know people. That doesn't mean you have to sleep with them, but you can go on dates. They can court you. Y'all can go on lunch, go to do different things together because that's all a part of the process of getting to know a person. Trial and error, just hey, that way you could get to kind of see what one person, how you feel about when you're doing things with them. You might say, I'm not feeling them. And then you got this other person where it's like, everything I like, they're checking off on. So then you can make that decision like, okay, I'm really feeling you. And then make sure that they feel the same about you as well. But it's kind of like when you put all your eggs in one basket, that's when you find yourself fumbling, because you put yourself all in, and they're not doing the same. So I feel like clear communication is what's needed in dating. So long as you communicate that with the person, I don't see nothing wrong with it. Stop it.
Could I add one more thing to that? Because I know a lot of times guys get it twisted and think that dating automatically equates to sex. So those are two different things.
That
I
part.
can date
Yes, I'm
you,
so glad you clarified that.
getting to know you doesn't mean getting to know how you are in the bed. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting to know you as a person. Sex isn't even on the table at this point when we're talking about getting to know somebody to see if we are compatible enough to be exclusive. But guys hear the word date and that automatically equates to sex. And for women is not. It's not that. Maybe for them it is, but for women is not.
I wholeheartedly agree with that part, that dating does not equate to sex at all. But I might be the odd one out on this. It's not a requirement for me, at least, for it to be communicated that you're multi-dating. I think at this point in 2022, of understanding what dating culture is like, and just operate under the assumption that that is exactly what you're doing unless communicated otherwise. I don't need you to put that out there. It happens so regularly that that's just kind of the default mode right now. However, it does show your character if you're able to communicate that in a way where it's coming out of transparency, or if it's coming out of okay, well, now you're in competition with X amount of people. Like, how you communicate, if you choose to communicate that you're dating, starts to reveal a little bit about who you are. But for me, it's not, you don't have to say it, but how you say it and what you say is telling about who you are, good or bad.
All right, Shan, you want to weigh in on that?
Sure. As I okay, so a lot of what I've heard thus far is correct, and I want to emphasize that when you're so what has happened is a few people have started dating, and dating has become about sexual activity in opposed to true dating. So if you're dating with intent and you have communicated on the first day of date, or the time that you guys are talking, because that's the time to talk, to say these things, that you are only trying to date with intent. um I think that it's okay, like you guys are saying, to I wouldn't say date, but talk to people, get to know people. And that's kind of tricky as well, because you don't want to date too many people, because I think about when I see a man who's dated so many people and then he dates people that I've known, I'm like, that's a bit much too. But but if you are dating responsibly, like not just being picky with your dates, that's what I'm saying. Not giving everybody your energy, really vetting them out, and not going on a date with everybody you meet, but only people you have selected. Like, this could be, I'm kind of with the guys that says, don't just go on a date for the meal. Some women are going on a date for meals. No, 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 no. You have to, there's something, a spark there through the telephone conversation, and you're talking to people. Okay, I like this. I could like this guy. Let's go meet for coffee. And then if it keeps, and at some point, if you start liking him, that's also a time to have a conversation. Like, I'm digging you. And again, sex should not even be in a question. I wish women would just close their leg. Oh, Jesus. Because we wouldn't have to keep saying that. But and then you moving forward. And then I think that that's time to communicate, because communicating early on is just as effective and good for the relationship as communicating later in the relationship. It's like setting up communication early on. And so if you're communicating these things, and he's on the same page, you guys are on the same page, it's a good thing, right? But going back to the original question, should you be a multi-dater if you date responsibly?
Are you okay? Yeah. So is that marriage material?
Listen, if she's dating responsibly, if she's a picky dater, yes. If she's just out here dating people, no, absolutely, because she's not even picky about what that's just too much. No, 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 no. But if you're a responsible, picky dater, like you're doing it with a purpose, then I think that that's okay.
And I would have to agree with all of you ladies on that, because I remember on another panel I had definitely mentioned something about women should date multiple men. And I think like when people hear that, they automatically put that with sex. And I think that that's how men think. Like they think dating sex. Women are not really, they don't operate like that.
Well, some do.
And
So in their
some do, some do.
what has happened is you've had a group of women who like this free for all, like I have my rights are just like a man's rights,
True.
and that has opened a can of worms. And now all men think that all women are those women. So we have to specify, we have to be real specific when we say who we're talking about, because there are different types of women, and those are not the women we're talking about.
You're absolutely correct. So that brings me to my next question, which is what makes a woman marriage material? Now I know we have a married woman up in here. So let's start off with you. What makes a woman marriage material?
I went first, the first question, but okay, it's all
All
right.
right, we can listen. I'm sorry, we can move around. If anybody else has the answer, then
I'm just gonna say that I think it's distinct to the person that you connect with, because what my husband may have found in me as what was marriage material for him may not necessarily be marriage material for someone else. Like in these spaces I hear a lot of times that men are looking for someone that is fit, feminine, friendly, and all of that kind of stuff. Not looking for somebody who's submissive, and then all of, and when my husband met me, I was none of those. I was 18, I was submitting to who? I wasn't even thinking along those lines. But what he valued in me was the fact that I was a person that would challenge him, to be his better self. I was there to also help. Like if he needed something, I was there to be that person to provide assistance. I was open, just to trying new things, learning new things, not automatically just like, I'm not checking for that, things like that. So things that he specifically looked for that would be in alignment with what he felt he needed in a mate, I had those qualities. But I think that would change depending on, the type of person that, each man looks for something different.
Okay. Let's go ahead and hop to Miss Enos.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think men are not a monolith. I think each man is significantly different, and I think there's standards and specifics for what a wife is. They get to determine that the same way that as a woman you get to choose what husband material is for you, and what it would be for me would be different from you, Curves would be different from Mistaken, would be different from Shan. And so everybody has their own definition. And I think in that dating process it's important to ask those questions about, what does that look like to you? What does wifey material look like to you? What are the specifics of that? How do you define this word? Like, I don't think that there's any kind of one size fits all solution for this. And at the same time, I'm going to also say that um, you don't pretend to be something you're not to become marriage material for somebody else. Eventually, you're not going to be able to keep that charade up. It's important to, when you are yourself authentically, do you meet those criteria for the other person in order to decide whether or not the two of you are going to work? If you're faking the funk, if you're doing it to kind of catch this person, that's going to fall apart. So in your natural state, outside of this person, do you meet that criteria And I think that'll be the answer for that specific person, whether you are wifey material or not.
So even to go a little further, like, okay, so I get that there's different, it fits different for everybody. But like, are there, you believe that there's any core values that certain women should have, like, um, that qualify her to be a wife, or is that different for everyone? Like, are there like, should you cook, should you clean, or is that different for everyone?
No, that's different for everybody. Like, there are men out there who, are men of means. Cooking, cleaning, we can outsource that, right? There are men who, want a woman who's a go-getter so that they can share those things in common. There are men who want a woman who aspires to be the greatest housewife ever. I don't think there's such thing as core values across the board. Because if that were true, then we would have some questions about some of these women that are married and have successfully stayed married that don't meet those, right? So I don't think there's anything other than, in a heterosexual relationship to say being a woman is maybe the only core value that we can share across the board. But even that people define differently.
Okay,
I
that's fair enough. Go ahead, Miss Taken.
I was gonna say
Oh.
I beg to differ. I do think that there are certain core values that not just women but each partner should have in order to have a long lasting relationship, like a core value of respect. That's going to be something that is going to be needed. I would not here I don't see how any person in a relationship would say, well, respect really doesn't matter that much to me. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that would be a general core value. But what that respect looks like to each partner may be different, because men's value in terms of respect may look different than what a woman's respect, what she might need. I would also think in terms of a level of accepting the person for who they are, is a core value that you should have. I think a lot of times we go wrong with, we meet someone, we like them, and be like, you know what? If they, I can fix that. I can change that about that person. So learning how to just be open in terms of, if this person does not change anything about them right now, like for the rest of their life, they said, can I accept this person? So having that core value of truly that level of understanding in terms of understanding the person for who they are. I think that's a core value as well. And then the other thing is knowing how, I guess, another core value is being cooperative. I think that needs to be a core value on both parts, because that's the only way that
Can you elaborate on cooperative, please? Because sometimes I hear cooperative and I automatically think you want to treat me like a dog. Like, you want me to sit, you want me to do this. Like, and this is just, maybe it's just my brain, but like, when you say cooperative, like, can you just elaborate on that a little bit?
I think, like I said, for both people, cooperative is meaning that you're going to be flexible in order to make the relationship work. So there may be some times where I may not necessarily, agree with something or feel like doing something, but for the betterment of the relationship, I might, cooperate in, like, and say, okay, I guess that's kind of more like compromise. But I might say, all right, well, this time, all right, I'll move, I'll do this, this time, but next time, can we do X, Y, and Z? Just so that way both of our needs are being met, and not one person is always feeling like they're the one that is having to give in for the betterment of the relationship. You want to make sure that you're working towards like the same goal, and so that each person's needs are getting met. That's kind of what I look at, what
So
cooperation is.
I just wanted to jump in real quick because, mistaken, I agree with you if we're talking about a healthy relationship. However, not everybody's in a healthy relationship and their relationship still lasts, right? And so to say that those things can be applied across the board, I don't know that I could say that, because I see people who don't necessarily cooperate, and they're just like labeled as spicy. Like it's just a part of their personality, and like, it keeps things interesting. When I see people who, from the outside looking in, don't seem to be super respectful, that might be just a dynamic that that partner is comfortable operating in. So I think there's so many marriages that look so differently, that aren't necessarily healthy from the outside looking in, that still happen, that still work, that still last. But if we're talking about a healthy marriage, I would 100% agree with you. I
So
just
why
don't
would
think
we talk about an unhealthy? I
because they
think
exist.
that the goal would be to be in a healthy, happy relationship.
But I think that
So,
what she's saying is what's compatible for one person isn't necessarily compatible for another person. Because if they're just, if you put a healthy person with a damaged person, ain't nothing they can do. But maybe if there's damage together,
right, but if you're
damage
focusing
away.
on those core values, like I think that's too where women, I guess men may go wrong too, is that they haven't identified what those core values are for them, right? And then they end up in the relationship, like you just said, because they haven't identified those core values and have met the partner that share those same core values with them.
But I don't agree
Typically,
with that either, right? I think from the outside looking in, again, like we can say that, maybe they haven't defined it, but it could just be something that isn't important to us. Like getting money together could be like the only like shared value in that relationship that's making it work and making it last, right? But that might not be important to somebody else, somebody who wants to take the sole provider role. Like I think a few weeks ago we were talking about, Krishan and Blueface. That's not a healthy relationship, and yet it lasts, right? We see a lot of those relationships in the media, and I think it's important to have those conversations in contrast to healthy relationships, because there's a lot of people that are exposed to those kinds of relationships in their everyday and don't understand that they're unhealthy, and then just wind up replicating them. So I think for me, that's why it's important to bring it into the conversation, because it is reality.
Okay. And let's slide down to pretty hustle. What do you feel like what makes a woman marriage material? You gotta unmute it.
My bad. I'm sorry, y'all. Marriage. I don't like to use marriage material because what is that? Because like Miss Taken mentioned, it depends on the person. His definition of what's marriage material might not be with the next man. Like for instance, let's use. I know this might be old school, but I feel like it's a good one. Let's use iced tea and cocoa. Someone might not look at cocoa as marriage material. You show your whole everything about your body all over social media, but they've been married for over 20 plus years. They seem happy. That's marriage material for him. Whereas another man, like, I'll never. They may look at her as like a whore, something like that. So that's why I said marriage material is just based on the person who you with, and just communicating who you are and not changing who you are to be with a person.
I'm sorry. I mean, is that music playing in your background, or is that just was that a person who was hearing that? Because I
No,
didn't want
I
you to be
think
flagged. Because sometimes YouTube it's like copyright thing if you have music
Oh,
playing.
let me get off. Let me get off.
Yeah, just mute it. That's all. All right, go
yeah,
ahead.
you can hop in.
I mean, I think what the ladies have said is, I'm sitting here like, okay, but she just said what I just wanted to say. So, being that I will be choosing my son's wife, these are all beneficial things. He doesn't even know. But I would have to agree that it's all about the person who it is, because I've talked to the guy who I actively talk to now. I run these things by him, and he does not agree with half of the things that we talk about on here. He's like, that's not for me. I understand that maybe for them, but for me, can you do this? And what I find is what both said it's all about the person. And that's the way it's supposed to be, because there's always a person for you. And I think we felt it. We want everybody to be for us. And no, if she's not doing what you need her to do, she's just not for you. She's for somebody else. And again, I think it was Enaz. You can't change people. You cannot, because that real person will show up, and that's what leads to divorce. So again, I agree with the ladies. Make sure you're authentically yourself, and just stop trying to be something that you're not, because your right person will come around, and it is what it is. But you're right.
Now,
There are some things that just need to be put in place. Like there's a foundation, but like Ina said, not everybody goes by that same. Everybody doesn't value the same thing.
for sure. I definitely don't think that there's like a blueprint to um what makes like a woman marriage material. It looks different for everybody. And it's just you finding that right person that, like, to me, I just feel like you have to find that person that you want to do life with, where it works out. It just flows. It's not a thing where you're trying to, like, one of you ladies said, um pretty much trying to be somebody that you're not, and oh, I think that this is what he wants, so you're trying to paint a face that that's not really who you are. So next, my question is, do you ladies believe in like gender roles in relationships? Like, I cook, I clean, he pays it. Like, is there gender roles, or do you believe that? Because like for me personally, I do to a degree. Like, I just feel like if I'm married, I don't want to take out the trash. There's just certain things that I feel like I should do as a woman, and there's certain things that I believe that a man should do as the man of the household. So how do you ladies feel about that? We can start off with Pretty Hustle this time. Let's shake it up a bit. I mean, I had to put you on the spot.
I love that question. For me, like I agree. I don't feel like I should take out a trash if there's a man in my life. Especially in the house. Gender roles, like for me, I'm an entrepreneur, so I do believe you should make your own money. I'm not 100% housewife, but I'm at a cross between, I do want my husband to provide, if that makes sense. I want to be able to focus on my business and not have to worry about, because a lot of times we don't push our goals because we're worried about bills and different things. And that's where that provider comes in at. Someone who can give you that peace of mind of knowing, baby, do do what makes you happy. I got your back. So I feel like if there's a man in my life, you have to give me that piece of security. So when it comes to gender roles, that's how I feel. Now, I feel like a man can cook. I can cook. When it comes to the cooking and cleaning, I feel like I would like to have a man that's domesticated as well. But that trash, it's a no for me. Unless I'm by myself, like a single woman, I'm going to take my trash. I'm not going to let it climb up the wall. But if I'm with a man and he's in my face, it's not happening, cat. Or you got to get out. Just
I feel you on that. Shan, how do you feel about it?
Yet I believe absolutely in gender roles. I mean, it's just something about being a lady that makes you feel like a lady.
mm-hmm.
So I do. I mean, I don't knock anybody else who doesn't, but I love gender roles. I like to treat my man like a man, do all the fine things for my guy. I take pride in that. So, and when it comes to, the garbage and everything, as long as it's one of those little apartment bags, I don't mind. Like, okay, I'll put that by the, but that heavy duty black bag, nah, it's
The hefty, hefty, hefty.
but yeah, I like doing female, when I have to do something that's normally for a man, I don't feel good doing it. But if it's something, that like taking care of the house, making our house a home, those are the things I take pride in doing. So I believe in female, their gender roles. I do.
All right, let's take it up to Miss Taken. Are you,
Don't ask
you're
them.
not ready.
Don't ask them.
I gotta know because you actually are married, so I would like to know, like, if you don't mind sharing.
Well, again, like I said, each relationship is different. What each partner, looks for, and in their relationship is different. I would say that it's a cross for me in our household. So that's why I say, like, with gender roles, do I agree with it? I agree with whatever works for your household. And the reason I say that is because there's a lot that I do in my house that many would say it's a masculine role. But
Miss They could be building shit. Like she be building
yeah,
houses now.
Listen, there's no judgment. It's how it works in your
right.
relationship.
And
I'm
that's
just
what I
curious
feel
for
like.
you. So,
And I enjoy doing that. So he gives me my space to go ahead and do that. So that's not an issue. And I can appreciate that. Goes back to what I was saying in terms of a core value is truly accepting a person for who they are and allow them to be that in your relationship, because he's not intimidated at all. Like, it is not a knock on his masculinity at all, like that. I do things like that. But when it comes to like other things, there is an expectation for him. Like, he knows that he wanted a woman that can cook. And so even though I'm building stuff on this end, I'm throwing it down in the kitchen on the other end. You know what I'm saying? So, but he also cooks. He also helps with doing dishes. He also helps with doing laundry. So there are a lot of shared responsibilities that we have. So I can't really say specifically, is there something that he does in a house exclusively because he's a man? I think the only thing I can think of is taking out the garbage would be the only thing. But even then, we kind of share. He's the one that actually takes it out of the house and put it into the big garbage can. But in the household itself, like, when it's time to gather all the garbages up to bring in on Sunday, to put out on the curb, I will help him empty the upstairs, little, trash cans and put them in a bigger garbage bag, and he takes them downstairs. And when he takes it out, I'll put the garbage bag back into the garbage can. So it is still kind of a shared responsibility. So that's why I say whatever, works in your household, because there's a lot of stuff that I know men would consider a masculine role, but he allows me to do that because those are the kind of things I was doing before I met him. So
I think that's pretty cool. I mean, can you assemble a dresser? Like, you sound like Superwoman. I can throw down in the
She work
kitchen
at
and I can
Home
build a house. Like,
I have,
at this point, I feel like you're just flexing.
like, I be putting up backsplash, like doing floor tile.
What?
I yeah, yeah. It's just a lot of stuff because I watch, HGTV, and I get creative like in the summers, and I'm like, oh, okay, I lay down flooring, like all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, let's slide it over to Ms. Enon.
Yeah, I think I love this question because absolutely believe in gender roles, absolutely ascribe to them. Huge fan of it. I think too what Mistaken said though, people define that differently. People define femininity differently. They define masculinity differently. What the roles for each genders are, what are shared responsibilities are different. And I think that's what makes finding your partner challenging, is finding somebody whose definitions line up with yours. Um, you know, I love that Mistaken has a husband who feels affirmed in his masculinity. She feels affirmed in her femininity, in everything that she does, and that he's not threatened by that at all. That doesn't go for every man, right? And that definition or the willingness to want to do those things, it doesn't go for every woman either. Um, I'm a little bit more traditional, more like Shan. But I think the kind of the small details that people tend to bicker about, those are really the questions that you want to pull out in that dating process when you're trying to figure out if this is your person or not, um, to help make that transition a whole lot smoother. Of like, what, when we talk about gender roles, what pops into your head? what is a woman's role to you? And then when that question is answered, does that align with what my definition of what a woman's role is, what a man's role is in those gender roles?
All right, thank you, ladies. So this leads me to our next topic. Are your preferences keeping you from a chemistry connection?
You didn't answer the question.
All right, let me bring it back. I touched on it a little bit at the beginning, like I was like, I wouldn't touch trash. I do believe in gender roles. Like kind of like to piggyback off what Shan says. I really do. Like feeling like a lady, like like I said, it looks different for everybody. I want to cook for my man. I want to do the womanly things. And like I said, you got to take out the trash. You got to fix the lights. You're putting up the Christmas lights. I do feel like there's certain things that should be, that's just me personally. So who would like to answer the next
I was
question?
gonna
Would you
say
like to
my
hear the
husband is the
okay?
lifter of heavy things because I can't do that. He's the
Oh,
lifter.
okay.
Or the touches stuff that I just get like I don't like bugs. The funny thing is
Okay.
I can deal with rodents, but I can't just
Your
yeah.
So no bugs but rodents.
I can't. I prefer a rodent over a bug.
girl, I
Yeah,
like
I can't. Like he has to get. He's the bug catcher, the bug killer in the house. I can't. Yeah. Mm-mm.
you have a super chat, Curve. So you want to read that one before we move on?
Who wants to read them? I honestly don't know how to
You
get to
know how to
them
pin
from
it up?
here.
They give you access to pin it up.
I no, I don't have
Let
access
me
to
see. Oh, there it is. There it is.
it. Okay.
Here, let me make it big. I'll read it if I can make it bigger. Y'all know I can't see. Let me see.
I was just gonna say the accountability
Oh,
partner, $5. Yay! Thank you. So wait, there is a baseline for a husband provider, but wife material depends on the person. You ladies were off on the first question. Much
hey,
love.
we may be. We are not men. Now, if you ask us why some men ain't getting none, we can answer that question.
Well, I didn't mention anything when
I
she
did
asked. She
not.
said wife material. She didn't say
Yeah,
anything about husband, so we responded from the
that's
wife
true.
side.
Yeah, that would be
So
like a guy question. We
I'm
can just assume.
wait, so I'm going to jump in on this one. The definition of provider is also different for each woman. If you ask a woman what it means to be a provider, you'll start to see that it does depend on the woman. Because if you ask me, it's not just financial, it's also providing security, it's also providing leadership, it's also providing partnership, like providing spiritual guidance. Like providing is a very very broad umbrella term for me, whereas for other women it's a lot more fixed. So it's just as dependent on each person on what the definition of the word means.
Agree.
Is that the only super chat that we have?
Let me see. Let me just make sure. I think it is. I think it is. Oh, and you guys, since we're like a little brief pause, a She Critique will be back Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on La Peep JR. Woo woo! Don't come with no
That's
mess.
exciting.
Only
I'll be
bougie.
there. I'll be there watching. All right, ladies. So on to our next topic. Are your preferences keeping you from a chemistry connection? And to elaborate on that a little bit, I think most people have a preference. Now, is your preference keeping you from a connection? Like, maybe if he doesn't look the way you want him to look, would that stop you from making a connection? And we can start off with you, Shan, this time.
Ooh, okay. Okay, so are you asked me is me being attracted to him stopping me from being with him? Possibly, if that's
so,
the question.
so, would it keep you? Like, let's say that it may not be your preference. Would if he's not your preference, maybe you like tall men, maybe you like men with whatever it is. I'm just throwing things out there. Would that keep you from making a chemistry connection with somebody based off of?
I would, okay, so I'm not petty to the height thing. Like I don't mind. Height doesn't bother me, you know. But when it comes to being attractive, I can sit here and say that I'll be with a guy who is not attractive because I can be. But if you want to be like a bonya, I gotta be attracted to you in some type of way because some women are comfortable with friend zoning their mates, like their husbands are like in the friend zone. They're with them, but they ain't doing nothing. So I don't want that type of relationship because I know that is key to our relationship, especially for my mate. So I would want some type of attraction to him. Now, does it have to always be physical? Absolutely not. There are other things that can make a person attractive. Um, but as far as my preference, yeah, I don't think that I have a hardcore. I'm not picky on preference, put it that way. I do have a preference, but I'm not picky with it. It's just basic standard things that I look for and I go with that. Do I have, but I'm not like one of those people like, oh, he's got to be a certain shade of brown or he has to be brown at all, or he has to be this tall or make this amount of money. I do have a minimum, but I don't have I'm not, in my opinion, I'm not picky. I do open my mind and I take in consideration. My most important thing is what does he value? His leadership skills. At this age, he has to have a proven track of leadership, and I would hope he does the same for me. Do we have the same goals? Those are things that are far more important at this point. Companionship, do we mesh together? I enjoy spending time with him, because the older you get, it's all about the time. And those things are more important to me.
Okay, thank you. Let's go over to Pretty Hustle.
Um, for me, I don't think my preferences have kind of hindered me because, like Shan was stating, I have preferences, but I'm not stuck on them all the way. Like, you don't have to be 6'3", tall, dark, and handsome. Like, you don't have to be that. I mean, I have a little bit of flexibility there, but you can't be a complete eyesore. I have to still be able to look at you because like Shan said too, I have dated someone that was friend zone and I was with him for 2 years. What a time. That was the easiest relationship, but was that fair to him? No. So you do have to have some type of attraction to a person. So my preference is like for me, I want somebody who's can communicate, who's honest. A cute person can be honest, a not so attractive person can be honest. But it's like, how do I feel when I'm around you? A lot of times, once you get to know people, that attraction builds as well. Because you might meet somebody day one and be like, I don't know, friend. But then after y'all go on a couple of dates, you talk to him, you're like, okay, he went from a 2 to a strong 6.5, 7, you know? So, no, I don't think my preferences have because I'm not so stuck on a specific thing.
Okay. Miss Enos, how do you feel about that?
I love this question. I think if you are somebody whose preferences are keeping you single or keeping you from your person, you're not being honest. It's not that you have preferences, it's that you have a type. Because if you have preferences, I could prefer cookie dough over mint chocolate chip. But if there's no cookie dough, I'm also okay with mint chocolate chip, right? Like that's how preferences work. But if you have a type, there's no room for negotiation. And that's really the only time that it would be keeping you single. So I'd, my preferences are never going to keep me from a true, genuine connection because I don't have a type. I don't have to stick to one particular set of the way somebody looks and acts. And if I lined up the gentleman in my dating history, like the only commonality that you will find amongst them is me. So I think it's important for people to understand the difference between a preference and a type because your preferences will never keep you single.
All right, Miss Taken. You're on mute.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I agree that I think some women miss out on a relationship that can be very good for them because they are stuck on their preference, as opposed to, I think, where you should be stuck, where you should be focused is the standard. I think preferences you can change, like, the example that Inaz gave, that you might be willing to say, you know what, I do like, you know, cookie dough ice cream, but I also like this. But if I had to choose, I would choose cookie dough first, but I'm okay with, Rocky Road. That would be a preference. But if you're just so stuck on, no, it has to be this, I think a lot of times women miss out on opportunities of a great relationship because they are focused on a preference, where I think what's more important is the standard. I don't think necessarily you should be flexible on your standards, because those things are kind of like, I guess, synonymous in a sense with your boundaries a little bit. So like, I think your standards are more important to be hardcore on than your preferences. Because if you're open, sometimes your preferences will change based on people that you meet along the way. Like if somebody you meet does something that you've never experienced with somebody else, now that becomes a new preference. So I do think, you can be open and flexible with your preferences, but you should be more steadfast towards your standards.
Okay, thank you for that. So me personally, I used to let my preferences get in the way of my decisions until I met this one specific guy, and he wasn't my type at like not my preference, not my type, not anything. Somebody I would never talk to. Pretty Hustle knows about it. Um, but to make a long story short, it was no, no, no until I just gave him a chance one day, and I went out with him, and that's when I realized I needed to stop being so judgmental, because I really had a good time. He made me laugh. We connected. And he was really a great time. And that's something that I would have never known if I just didn't give him a shot. So at this point in my life, like I more so look for connections than like a preference or, being a stickler for a type. I just want to feel good around you. I want to have fun with you. And I want you to open up different sides of myself. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's how I feel about it. This question piggyback. You have something to say?
Yeah, so I saw something in the
Go
chat
ahead.
that kind of stuck out to me.
Go ahead.
The accountability partner said, stick to your preferences, do not negotiate, because when you do, you will find yourself unhappy. That's not how preferences work, right? I think nobody should negotiate on their standards. Standards are non negotiable, but your preferences are different. So we're going to go back to the ice cream analogy. I'm not negotiating the fact that I'm going to go get ice cream. I'm not going to go get cake searching for ice cream. My standard is that ice cream is the dessert to go to, right? But the flavor of ice cream, there's some flexibility because I enjoy multiple flavors, right? I don't think that preferences determine your level of happiness or your level of fulfillment in a relationship. Your standards do. Your preferences should be flexible. Otherwise, you're missing out on people and experiences that could be important to either finding your person or personal development that'll lead to your happiness. I don't think we're talking about the same thing.
Okay, so this next question pretty much piggybacks off of what I just asked. Is a little different. How important is physical attraction to you? Like, are you willing to date someone who is just completely not your type at all, but you guys chemistry, the way you guys lock in is like that? Or, like how do you feel about physical attraction? How important is that to each lady? We can start off with mistaken.
Physical attraction is very important. especially if you're talking about being with someone for the rest of your life. You do want to be physically attracted to them, you know. And again, well, I would say attracted, not necessarily, because some people are attracted to certain things. So I'm going to say not just physically attractive, but whatever you find attractive. Some people don't care about the looks part, they care more about the connection part or the mental aspect. You know, there's things about people that you can find that you're attracted to. So whatever your specific attraction is, then is definitely important, because you know you're going to be interacting with that person. For me, there has to be a physical attraction. You know, like, yeah, I mean, what, we're 26 years in, like, in dating, 19 years married. And I can say that even through the changes that, you know, I don't look the same that I did when I met him when I was 18. He doesn't look the same. You know, he's 4 years older than me, so he doesn't look the same. We've both gained weight. We've both, you know, have older bodies. But when I say that there is a physical attraction, that I like, I'm just smiling out. Like, there is such a physical attraction that I have to my husband, that it makes me want to, you know, be physical with him, because that attraction is there. You know, he goes in the shower, I'm peeking. He's not, you know, noticing, but I'm like, you know, there's that physical attraction, and you are going to need that to sustain a healthy, you know, sexual relationship, when you're married. I mean, the physical attraction is definitely there. Very important.
Okay. So Shan, how important is physical attraction to you, ma'am?
Oh my gosh. Ideally, I would want to be physically attracted to my mate. I mean, ideally. Does he have to be like a god? No. He don't have to be a supermodel or like the most handsome man on earth. I mean, I would love that, but he doesn't have to be. I mean, I think like Mistaken said, attraction does make a difference. She and I have been friends for years, and I know how attracted she is to her husband, and it is a beautiful thing. Like she talks about him like she met him 2 weeks ago. Okay, so I love that about their relationship. Like they just keep that fire going, and I would love that for myself. So I think that, again, because I know people like, well, it's always the people. Yes, it does mean a lot. You want to be attracted to your spouse. Again, does it have to be this guy, like the ideal guy, like for you, universal attraction? Absolutely not. He just has to be attractive to me. That's all.
All right. Ina.
Yeah, I think it's all been said at this point. Physical attraction is incredibly important, but that what is considered physically attractive is not just one type. It's not just one build or anything like that. Like, physical attraction, with the understanding that human beings change, not even just with age, sometimes just with circumstances. Like, if you go from a blue collar job where you are working with your hands every day to an office job, your body's going to change, right? It doesn't even have to be an age thing. And so understanding that there are different things that are physically attractive, um, absolutely. But it's still really important that I'm physically attracted to my partner. Like, that part is non-negotiable.
Pretty hustle. How important is it?
It's very important. Um, like Shan said, like you other lady said, you don't have to be what society considers a bomb, not a bombshell, but fine, or the man. But like, long as I'm attracted to you, long as I don't mind waking up to you every day, or being seen with you, or enjoying life with you, And what I mean by attracted, I need to be attracted to you. Not only your looks, your mindset, because some people can be fine, but they can be silly. So, a childish, something like that. So, long as you're attractive to me as a whole, so you might be a 6 in the looks, but your personality might be a 20 plus. Your drive might be a 20. Everything about all your other characteristics may be top tier, but that's going to make you that much finer to me. Where somebody might be the finest man on earth, a bum, can't hold no conversation, can't keep no money in his pocket. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, you're attractive to me, but you're also a bill, you're a headache at the same time. So it's all about who you want, who is attracted to you, and can you see yourself spending life with that person?
I definitely agree with that part. That the because I know like with men, they are visual creatures and they're like one of their probably top three qualities or something that they look for in a woman will probably be the physical attraction. I think the difference, and I'm not a man, so I don't know, but just based on conversations that I've had with men, like my brother-in-law, my husband, my brother, things like that, is that sometimes they will place the physical attraction above all else at times and end up in dealing with somebody that they may not have necessarily needed to deal with longer than they should have, or passed up on somebody who would have been a better choice because like Pretty said, she may have been a 6, but she had all of the other things that would honestly round her out as like a 8 or a 9, like when you average it out. But because the physical part was not on par with what they wanted, they, let one get away. So I definitely think physical attraction is important, but I don't think it necessarily should be the end all be all, because you may miss out on an opportunity with somebody that would be a great relationship.
I definitely have to agree with you on that. Physical attraction is important to me, but to a degree, there's certain things that I feel like are bendable, some things that, I would be okay with. But also I still have to want to be intimate with you. I still have to look at you and be like, oh, that's my baby. I don't want to look at you and be like, I gotta do something with you tonight. So that to me is important.
It feels like a job versus a relationship.
Right. I do want to let everybody know that the link has been dropped. So if any of the people who are watching live right now, you can come in, weigh in on how you feel about these topics.
Sorry, it was a
Right
fly.
on. Did
It's getting on
you
my
get it?
it's flying around. No.
Um,
Eugene Steele, he says something in the comments that I think this is a lot of us operate from, and I think is a good thing. He said that he doesn't necessarily know what he wants, but he knows what he doesn't want. And I think a lot of times, sometimes that kind of it has us in situations when we don't necessarily know what we're looking for, and then we deal with somebody and be like, I know I don't want that. But I would say, since if you know what you don't want, then I guess the opposite would be what you want. Like if you know you don't want anybody with a bad attitude, then I guess the opposite of what you would be looking for and wanting would be someone with a positive attitude. That would be my starting point.
do you think that men are like more harsh on their like physical attraction, like how women are like, there's certain things that we've been on. You think men are more like harsh, or do you think, they will let certain things slide as well?
I think they let certain things slide. I do. They do let things slide. I think that, of course, if you have pickings, then that's different. But I think that for the average guy, I don't think that they're as picky. I don't. I think that they want, but I don't think that. I do think that they look at the average. Now, come on, don't act like everybody out here clean.
No, I was gonna say I think it depends on the age and stage. I think the older you get, you begin to learn a little more about life and what's really important and what is going to make a relationship work. And so you do let some things that normally when you were younger wouldn't be. Like I know for me, looks was a big thing. Like honestly, that was probably the only standard that I had when I was younger, right? That he was fine. That was it, and that he had personality or something like that. But I think as I've gotten older, even though I was of course attracted to my husband, I felt he was fine when I met him, and I think he's fine now. I definitely know that looks aren't as important to me as it was when I was 18 or 19, because I value, although I'm attracted to him, that's not the top thing that I value about him. That has changed. But when I was 18, that was a top thing. I can wait to be out in public with him. You know what I'm saying? Like that was my boo. Yeah, he fine. I know he fine. Like that kind of thing. But like now that after we had kids, it the looks part just didn't even matter. I ended up valuing so many other things about him. Looks actually is probably like the third or fourth, fifth thing maybe on my list at this point. So I think it depends on your age and stage.
And I agree. I think it comes with, especially with men. I feel like in the beginning, men, they see the exterior. That's what's going to attract them to you. But life changes people. If you're a man that's always dated dimes or beautiful women, and you might have been hurt or went through some things that might make you go back to the drawing board and be like, what, let me not be so shallow. And maybe she might not be the most fine. She's cute, she's easy on the eyes, but she has a great heart. She's not with me for my money. She's not this, she's not that. So I think it comes with experience, with age, and just with what you've been through while dating.
I disagree. Um, I think that the men who wear looks are not, or sorry, let me rephrase it. Men who have more wiggle room for the physicality are men who understand that their current stage in life limits the access of women that they have, whether it's finances, whether it's personality, whatever it is. I think men who have options like in plethora aren't willing to negotiate, because the same way that there are fine men out there that have terrible personalities, there are fine men out there that have phenomenal personalities. And if I have access to all of the fine men, why would I settle for somebody who's not attractive, who has a great personality? So I think it all depends on what you have access to. How many times have we seen a gentleman get his financial situation in order, and all of a sudden looks didn't matter, and now that he has the means, they do matter again? How come when someone's exiting a relationship, now you are taking better care of yourself, your hygiene is better, your aesthetic is better, you're going to the gym, you're eating cleaner? That's to attract more attractive people. So I think the men who negotiate their level of attraction to their partner are men who have to, and men who don't have to don't negotiate.
So you feel like once a man hits a certain financial level, he gets to be like more pickier with who he chooses to be with?
Oh no, I don't think it has to be just financial, right? Like I think
Okay.
there are gentlemen out there who aren't financially stable but are incredibly charismatic. So they have access to
Okay.
whatever woman they want. Some guys are hilarious, and I don't know a woman that doesn't like a funny guy. And so they have access to a whole lot of women. So I think if you're, as a man, your dating pool of attractive women is limited, you're going to negotiate how attractive your partner is going to be. If you have access to very attractive women, you're not going to negotiate.
Okay. Again, if anybody has anything to add, the link is dropped. You can add in. Do we have any super chats right now? No. Okay. So,
The
go ahead.
accountability partner say he want to pull up. Go ahead and pull up. The link is dropped.
Who allows them to come in? Is it
I think JR is there. He'll pull them up.
okay? Okay.
I think this is a good conversation. I know the guys are like, they feel like we missed a few points when it came to wifey material. I
Mhm.
What are
think
they having an issue with?
well, I think that they just feel that we're missing the point, and I just it's who knows.
I would like to know what wifey material means to them.
Mhm.
Um, but that kind of leads me into another question. Do you, and this is what women think about men, as far as like, do you think that a man would compromise their preference or their type for the right connection? Or do you think that that is something that is like non-negotiable? Because I feel like some men are really strict on certain things. Or do you feel like,
I
we'll start with Miss Taken
okay.
or
Uh,
Shane, whoever, it doesn't matter.
I'll let you go.
I think it
Go.
depends on the person. I was talking to Mistaken. It's ironic. I was talking to Mistaken earlier today about a friend I had. And well, he's still my friend. But back in the day, we were all college students, and he was a football player at Georgia Tech. Okay. And he had this girl, and I want to make sure I don't say his name, but he had this woman that he was so in love, y'all. He was like in love with this girl. But he had his girls on campus, and this girl went to a school at another college. Okay. I'm gonna get to that point, I promise. And so when I eventually met her, they had, I mean, the way they interacted was awesome. At this point, he's going into the league because he was a really good player. He played for Kansas City. Um, and they had, and now mind you, this woman had been with him for 4 years, and they had great chemistry, and he was like good, like so in love with her. And so I asked him maybe 2 years later, and I promise y'all this was the conversation. I said, well, what happened to so and so? And he said, I couldn't be with her. I said, why? You were in love? He said, I was. I'm not gonna lie. Like, she had me. She just didn't have the look. He literally said that.
Mhm.
And I was like, what? He was in love with this girl, but because of the way she looked, he was like, she cannot go along for the ride because it's got to stop. Isn't that crazy? That's the first time I've ever heard of that.
Yeah, I think men put way more emphasis on, I'll say most men put a lot more emphasis in the physical appearance, that wanting to have the dime piece, and again, this is the men that have access to those women. I do actually agree with Inaz when she made that point. So I think most people want the nice shiny thing, you know what I'm saying? But I think it takes a more developed mindset to understand that not all thing that glitter is gold. You know what I'm saying? And so when you're looking for a life partner, you know that looks are definitely something that's going to be important in terms of the physical attraction. But again, you don't know what can happen within a relationship. There are people that have accidents, that they become disfigured, in any of those things could occur. And I'm not speaking in extremes, like people change, physically change in a relationship. So you're definitely going to have substance and something that is going to keep the relationship grounded. Like if the person loses their looks, then you're like, I don't want to be with them anymore. Like to me, I just I don't know. I just don't. I don't see that.
I don't know. I think it's different once you enter into a marriage. I think certain men who are very principled, that's not going to affect them, right? But I think men in general, if they can, are not going to compromise on having the total package. She's got to be fit, she's got to be feminine, she's got to be whatever it is that fits the representation, right? Like, I think for me, I think the idea of a trophy wife has kind of been, cast into like a very specific type of woman. But if we're honest, any wife is a trophy wife. And, you know, understanding that I'm saying this on the internet, some wives are participation trophies and others are like championship trophies, right? Every man wants to be able to feel represented in who his wife is. So if she is beautiful and she is intelligent and she is living out the values that he has, that's a representation that he wants to present to the world. Like, that's my woman. Everything that she represents physically and internally, that's all me. I think women don't really look at it the same because men are not really considered trophies. And so if a man can get an attractive woman who is intelligent, who is cooperative, who is all of the things that he is looking for, that he believes in, that he lives out, he's going to go for that. And he's not going to compromise if he can. If he can't, that's a whole different story. But if he doesn't have to compromise, I don't think men are going to compromise on that.
You know what?
And I
Go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
no, you can go ahead. You can add. I was just gonna say that I think that most men try to go for the baddest woman that they can get for them, and it looks different for every guy depending on your financial situations, your look, but they typically go for like, and if they're talking to two women, this is just what I think. If I'm wrong, call in and tell me I'm wrong. But I think most of the time, if they're talking to two women, one woman is less attractive than the other one. I typically think that they would go for the more attractive woman, regardless of whether he has a better connection with the woman who is less attractive. I think men like to look like they have a beautiful woman on their arm. And that's just what I think. Shan, what do you think?
Well, I'm gonna take it a step further. I think that it just depends. New money looks a little different than old money, um, and I think the profession also makes the difference. Because if you ever surround yourself with men who have it like that, okay, you would think that they're wise. It's kind of the fight. If you look at the First Wives Club, they're never the most gorgeous, babe. They were the woman. They were the women who were the legacy. The pedigree was up to par for the children. And then he divorced her and went with the token wife, as people would say. But if you go to these places, especially when it comes to physicians or people, those aren't like beauty queens. They look like their spouses, like they mesh. He's a nurse, she is too. They're just compatible. It has nothing to do with looks. If you Google the wealthiest guys, even the 15 billionaires, only one has that trophy looking wife. All of them have wives that look like they would look had they not had the money. It has nothing to do with the aesthetics. And I did the research on this. I looked up every single wife because I want to know what they did, like for the whole
But most of them men are cheating. Most of them men who are like
right.
billionaires, they are cheating with the baddest thing they can get their hands on.
Yeah, but she's still his wife, and she's still there. So. Okay, you want to be second place? Are we aiming to be second place? Are we aiming to be the chick that he's cheating with? Absolutely not. So, okay, sure, he's cheating with her, but he ain't wifing her.
So,
And that's
okay,
what
so
they're
here's
just
the thing.
saying.
I just let me
Oh,
jump in real quick,
okay.
Missy. I'll let you have it right after. So, Shan, I love what you said. Right, I think it's important. Um, if we look at the totality of women that are in that realm, I promise you that those wives are the more attractive ones of that category, right? Like if we're gonna compare we can't compare apples to oranges, and we got to compare apples to apples, right? I think that of those women, they're still the entire package. So of that pedigree, they're still the most beautiful, they're still the most intelligent, they still have all of these other things. Like it's the entirety of it. It's
Well,
the
yeah, they're
whole
cute.
package.
Right. They're cuties. But I think that what we consider, if you take, because I can't judge what white men think is attractive. I can pretty much gauge what black men feel is attractive. I can guarantee you, if you pull up the wives of the billionaires, majority of them would not be what most people would deem as attractive. Okay, in the way we live now. They're just not. Some are
You seen
overweight.
Bill Gates' wife?
Some of them are. Well, Gabriel Gates. But so it's just where you are. I mean, it's so much more to it than just a physical thing. For some people, some men look deeper than that. It's who you want to raise your kids. I mean, I just think it's not just all about the physical. I don't.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I think for I can only speak to my limited experience, or like I would say circle of people
In
that
2 seconds, real fast. They're all with black women, except for one. He married a black woman first. He divorced her and then married a white woman. But they're all, every
Mhm.
single one of them, except for the two gay ones, they're all married to black women. So they're to knock that little out of the. Because he
Well,
said they're not married to black women. Absolutely, they are.
I was gonna say is that I think as a group, as men, black men and women, I think a lot of times we do focus on the physicalities of people. We prioritize that more so over substance. Where I know that I've just, like I said, in my limited experiences and interactions with people outside of being black, that they do look more at the qualities of a person when they're selecting, a mate or a wife, things like that. I think we do as a group put higher emphasis on the physical aspect when we're choosing a mate, and others put more emphasis on the qualities of the person when choosing a mate. Like I said, that's just my anecdotal experience that I've seen.
We have a guest, so
Pretty hustle. Do you have anything to add before I move over to Rob
I'm gonna
on
just
this
keep
topic?
it quick. I feel like it just depends on the person. A lot of the guys, when you think about the billionaires and all of that, a lot of times they might have been with these women when they had nothing.
they
And
were.
looking at it, it's like some of them love their wives, like I'll never leave her. And they may cheat and do whatever they're gonna do. But then some of them are like, do I leave her and risk losing my money? Or do I
Well, you
keep
got
her
a billion. You got a little bit to lose, but I
keep
get what
her
you're
kept
saying.
quiet in her little corner, looking cute in her Gucci and gold? And because she not, a lot of times the women, they know what they're dealing with, and they done got comfortable in a certain lifestyle. Somebody who dating Bill Gates, who you gonna go to after Bill Gates? Somebody it got to be somebody on his level. If you're used to that type of lifestyle, you're not gonna go from Bill Gates to somebody work at the post office, or nothing against the post office, but when you're so used to a certain lifestyle, you kind of find yourself like, And then with the man, he not trying to lose his coins. So, but then a lot of times, and it's old money too. So you got old money and new money. That's when you get those men who they may be with a decent looking girl, get their money, leave her for the finest thing. It's not
But
that they
And
got money.
it's not always. I don't want people
We
to get.
seen Steve Harvey do it.
not,
Well,
but not just that. Like, Melinda Gates is reportedly dating a school teacher, so like, there's that.
what'd you say?
Wait, who's dating a school teacher?
uh Bill Gates's ex-wife, apparently she's rumored to be dating a school teacher. So I don't think that's necessarily true, because
But
she can maintain her lifestyle after
she walked
She's
leaving.
away
sitting on a lot of money.
But that's what I'm saying, right? And I heard a similar argument, about why Beyonce didn't leave, because there's no other Jay-Z out there for her. If we're honest, the Forbes list of people's income is really not it for like the people who have real wealth. These women have access, because they're in those circles, to just as many men who have similar incomes, if not higher or better incomes or wealth, whether they are new money or old money. Those women, because they have proven themselves to be able to live in that lifestyle, to understand the rules of engagement in that lifestyle, have access to more of those men. And as divorce rates go up in every tax bracket, more of those men are becoming available. So I think we should really nix this conversation of where are they going to go. They have options. They could date down, they can date up, they could date laterally. Women do actually have options, even if women outnumber men, if you have proven that you could live within that lifestyle of where you are going.
That's true. Mhm.
Okay. I was gonna slide it over. I was gonna have Rob
Snap,
tap
snap,
in.
yeah, tap.
I'll
He
wait a
gone.
moment for him.
But he'll be back.
He,
He'll
I'm
be
here.
he,
Give me
go
one
ahead,
second,
man.
ladies.
here.
Give me
Take.
1 second.
Okay.
I agree with what you were saying, Enos. That is absolutely correct. I mean, I think that too, when you look at certain circles, it's like, how did that person get in a circle and she's dated multiple people in that same circle? Now she's divorced one and now she's married to another one. It's like a safe zone. She's a part of that clique, a part of that network, and they're okay with her being there. And it's just a lot of them work that way, especially non-blacks.
All right, Rob, you ready?
I am ready, and I am actually tapped in the chat. So, and it's Rube,
You're
ROOB.
oh, Rube, I'm sorry.
No
I
worries.
apologize. I
No
just thought
worries.
you added two O's. All right, we'll call you Tap.
That works.
Tap, tap it
Go
up.
ahead, tap in.
Okay, so I'm just going to touch back on your very first conversation
Go
um,
ahead.
regarding wife material. For and this doesn't take into account toxic and bad relationships. Even though they're married for years, that doesn't mean it's a good relationship, i.e., Will Smith and Jada Pinkett. That doesn't make it good. I'm talking about healthy men wanting relationships and wanting wives. There
Mhm.
is a baseline, and I really despise the YouTube talking points, but Kevin Samuels was onto something, and you really have to think about it for a bit. I take out the word fit. I always replace the word fit with willing to be healthy, willing to be better. But cooperation is a key component to being wife material. And what that means is if I'm going to lead, you have to be willing to follow. You have to be able to get on my page and move in the direction that I need us to move in order for us to grow. Because keep in mind, in healthy relationships, um, the man would not only move for himself, but he also moves for his family. So you got to be cooperative. Feminine is is about remaining in that state. Don't get in the space that the man operates in. You like those are the baselines of being wife material. What the man needs you to do, be willing to do if it's within reason. I mean, we're not going to ask you to do something unreasonable. Hey, yo, I need you to jump in the sewer. Like that's insane. And we're not going to, in a healthy relationship, put you in danger. Our goal is to make sure you remain from danger. So to stay in those base, like to be true wife material, you got to be cooperative and you have to be feminine. Then the rest is personality. So what like you can be feminine and you can be cooperative, but you're just not compatible with the guy. And that happens. But when you identify that, where a lot of relationships, in my opinion, go bad is they stay in the relationship too long when they've already identified that that's not going to be the person that they see themselves with long term. Once you identify that, yo, hey, this has been great. It's been a learning experience. Let's move forward with someone else.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Uh, for you, do you think there is, and if there's a difference between being cooperative and submissive? Is there a difference between those two?
No, I kind of think they go hand in hand. I don't think you can be submissive without being cooperative. Like you kind of submit to the man. Like it's, I think it's kind of implied that if I think they kind of go hand in hand. They're about the same to me
Mhm.
because I wouldn't know otherwise unless you're being uncooperative, and then I would recognize that you're not being submissive.
Do you feel as though sometimes men put women in positions where they have to be more masculine? Because men love to say they're like, oh, she's being masculine, but sometimes I feel as though men put women in those positions where they feel like they have to take on extra tasks or do certain things that appears to be masculine, but not that she wants to live in that space, but if you're not doing it, or you know what I mean. So how do you feel about that?
So that goes into the communication piece, and it also goes into the gender role piece because I believe there are role specific jobs for men and female, and it also goes into the communication piece. So let's just say I ask you to a female to do a specific thing that may be more masculine, then she should say I don't feel comfortable, and then we can have that conversation. Now on the other hand, my job is to make sure I don't put her in a space to where she has to get masculine, where she has to get in any masculine energy. That why would I do that when that's, in my opinion, my role? Which is a pretty good question, actually. But oftentimes, I think some men will put women in a position to where they have to operate outside of what they should operate. Yes, to answer the question, but I think that goes more back to the man and less about the female because our jobs are to make sure you don't operate in that space.
So I wanted to circle back to Mistaken's question because I was about to ask the same question. Um, if cooperation and submission were the same thing, then they would be the same word. So to me, as a woman, cooperation means teamwork. Submission means in an area where you and I's opinions differ, I'm going to take a back seat and allow you to make the final decision, right?
No,
And so as women, when we hear men um, use those two words interchangeably, it becomes kind of problematic to us. And I think I'm going to assume I'm mistaken. You can let me know if I'm wrong. She probably picked up on the same thing. To us, they don't mean the same thing. The way that they're applied in a relationship are significantly different from the woman's perspective. So now that you hear that, do you still take the same stance that they're interchangeable?
so I don't see it necessarily. First of all, I see a relationship itself as teamwork, right? Like to me, it's two people working together to achieve the same goal. Like our goals must be aligned in order for it to be a successful relationship. Give me 1 second. Are you okay? Um,
I,
so with that being said, when I think of the word cooperate, and we can actually pull up the definition because I believe words matter. Um, when I say we're going to the store, like your job is to go to the store. When I say we're going to the store, like there's it my like I believe my word is if I'm operating from the right space because we got to keep that in mind. This is coming from healthy relationships. Um, it, like it is submission is just a deeper form of cooperation. Like it's more like you're giving your will to me. I guess is kind of the same, kind of the same.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I had asked because I found it to be different. And even in a discussion with my husband, I asked him, would you prefer me to be submissive? Would you I asked, do you want me to be submissive? Like in my mind, like hearing when in these spaces what guys consider submissive, I'm not the one. Like I'm not. According to, like I said, what I heard, what that looks like. And his response was, no, I would rather you be cooperative. So even for him, I think there was a slight difference. And as we discussed it more, it was more along the lines of what he felt submissive was that he that meant that he is the dictator. Not that I have much say so in anything, that like in that type of leadership, it is he is always the manager saying do this, do that, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whereas the cooperative aspect is this is what needs to be accomplished, and coming up, sometimes it may be, oh, we can do it like this, or I can bring something to the table and say, oh, maybe it'll work better this way, that I have that flexibility, to provide that input to work towards whatever the outcome that we want to have, whereas the submissive part, I don't necessarily get that input, to that decision.
Okay, so let me see, make sure I understand. You guys, you ladies, are seeing submission as the final word. I need to do what you say, and I'm submitting myself to whatever you say. And you see cooperation as an opportunity for you guys to work with alongside. Am I understand? Am I
Yes,
understanding?
Correct.
collaboration. Yep.
Correct.
That's fair. Submissive is a synonym, by the way, of cooperation. But I agree, I can agree to that point. But it's when you become uncooperative, because you're obviously not being submissive, is where the problem in the relationship happens. So I actually agree with your husband. I'd much rather have you cooperate than you be fully submissive. But at the end of the day, we're not going to really do much arguing about what I say needs to be done. So, like, you're going to cooperate with what I'm suggesting you do. And yes, in a healthy relationship, a man will take input from his female. I mean, what's the point of having a female or a mate? You're not going to listen like that. That's obscene to me. And I hear in these spaces, oh no, 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 you do and I direct, and that's insane. That's absolutely insane. Which is why I led with I can't stand these YouTube talking points, because in practice, in healthy relationships, that's not how it works. That's
So
simply just not how it works. Yes, ma'am.
And I want to say, because somebody made a point and they wanted to go into that point. And I agree somewhat with what you're saying, but that goes back to when we get these men who saying, "Oh, you're too picky," or "You have your preferences too much." Because ideally, if you want a woman to submit to you wholeheartedly, you have to prove yourself as being a great leader. Nobody's going to give you their all and trust your leadership if you have poor leadership skills. I mean, a whole group of people trusted Hitler, and we see what happened there. We know that there are great leaders and they're not so great leaders. So I think that and can you pull up Harrison's Jr. Can you pull up Harrison's comment, because I think that that's what he was trying to I think that he was trying to.
I can read the comment. So it says, from a biblical standpoint, a man's level of leadership isn't the reason for a lack of submissiveness. I agree with that statement, only because biblically, a woman can only submit to her husband. However, we're talking about dating and vetting and courting.
And
You
people
are
get
not,
those two things, they get
yeah, they're not
confused.
the same thing. You are not owed any level of submissiveness because you have not proven yourself to, one, be a leader, two, you have not submitted to God to lead this woman just yet, right? And so in these stages, when women are in the dating, vetting, courting stages, when women are being criticized for not submitting, you don't meet the qualifications, sir. Secondly, I did want to kind of circle back to tap what you were saying I wholeheartedly disagree with you. I think you can absolutely be submissive and not cooperative. I think you can, whether this man wants to hear your opinion or not, still state your opinion and allow him space to still make the final decision. To me, in that circumstance, you are not being cooperative, but you are still submitting to his decision. You are still, whether he wants to hear you or not, vocalizing your perspective. Again, I understand that you prefaced it in a healthy relationship where a man is willing to hear his woman out. However, we're going to be talking to the general public. It's not typically the dynamic that we're talking about. And even just like glancing at the chat, there are several gentlemen who do not want to hear anything that a woman has to say. So I'm
Raise your
speaking
hand if
for,
you're married in the chat.
I
Let
mean,
me
Yeah.
there's that too, right? But I'm just saying, like there are certain circumstances where a woman feels the need to. I think I can't remember if it was Curves or Shan or Mistaken who had brought up how men pull the masculinity out of a woman sometimes. Sometimes that need to be uncooperative and vocalize something against a man's will is a form of protecting herself because her perspective is significantly different than a man's. That if I do not tell you what I'm seeing from my vantage point, I'm in a position of fear that you're missing something that I'm seeing. And so, in order to protect myself, I need to let you know what it is that I see, what I feel, what I interpret is going on in the world. You can do with it as you please, but then the fault cannot be put back on me for not vocalizing what it is that I'm seeing, feeling, perceiving, right? That is uncooperative, but the fact that you get to make the decision, that's still submissive. So you can absolutely, because for me they're not mutually exclusive, you can be uncooperative and still be submissive.
Okay,
But
so
how? Because
the
you're choosing
question,
to cooperate.
yeah, like the
You're
question that I
choosing to
have
be
is,
like,
go ahead. I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Oh,
No, no, go ahead.
at the end of it, so basically what you're saying is you stated a disagreement, but you did it anyway, which means you cooperated with what the man
So
wanted
basically,
done.
what you're saying is you stated a disagreement,
unmute
did
your
it
mic.
anyway, which means you cooperated with what.
Go
So
ahead.
so am I
Somebody's having some
understanding that right?
feedback.
Like you stated where you feel that disagreement happened. Like, okay, I understand what you're saying. I don't agree with you. And then I say, but we still need to do it this way. And you still do it that way. The way I'm saying that we need to do it, there you are cooperating with what I'm saying we need to do. Whether rightly or wrongly, you can disagree. Like disagreement, we're not supposed to be the same. We're not supposed to think the same. You're supposed to have a perspective. But if you end up following exactly what I just said that we would do, you are in fact cooperating with what I want done.
Yeah,
So Tab, I
disagreement
hear
to
what,
me doesn't mean uncooperative.
but give me 1 second because I want to clarify because I heard the way that Tap responded to what I said, and I think the emphasis of what I was saying may have been missed. So I just want to clarify it, right? It's not the action of vocalizing my opinion that is being considered uncooperative. It's
Oh,
doing it after the man that has said, I don't want to hear it.
okay.
That's the part that's uncooperative, right? Because there are men that do not want to hear the woman's perspective, right? It's the fact that I did it regardless. Yes, I was cooperative in the end because to me that's submission, that you get the final say as a man, as the leader of the relationship, as the head of the household, you get the final say. But the fact that you did not want to hear what I had to say and I vocalized it regardless, that's the part that's uncooperative.
So you're talking about a narcissist?
I think that word gets overused.
No,
I'm
I'm
going to say no.
by what you're saying, you have just defined a narcissist. I don't care what you have to say. Your opinion is invalid. Submit to what I'm saying. Do what I say do, or you can kick rocks. Like that's
So
essentially what you're saying. Like
again,
from
I
a
think
guy's
that word is
perspective, right?
over. I think that word is overused, right? Because sociopaths, psychopaths can also have that same mindset, right?
They
Like
do.
if we're really going to get into the psychology of things, so can people who have control issues or trauma or whatever. I don't think it has to just be narcissists, right? There's so many different dynamics. It could be a state where it's an emergency. It's a life or death situation, right? It doesn't even have to be something that is passive. It could be one of those moments where that man just like feels in that moment of like real life danger. I don't need you to talk back. I need you to just move the way I ask you to. And if I speak anyways, that's still uncooperative. But if I still do what it is you're asking me to do, that's still submitting, right? So, regardless of the situation, I think it could still be applied across the board. It's still uncooperative, but it's still submissive because I've still followed your direction. I've just gone against your wishes and vocalized something that in that moment, whether it's a regular occurrence or an isolated incident, in that moment, I was not cooperative.
But you ended up
All
doing what I
right.
needed done, right? Like at the
Hold
end of
on.
the
Give me
day,
one
as
second,
long
Tap.
as you, I'm sorry.
No, no, you're fine. I just wanted to see if Lil Podcast had something to weigh in on.
I don't want to like just jump right in. I would prefer if you all directed the question toward me, but I would
Okay.
say that um I think that I think you're taking I don't understand why women want to make definitions about feelings. There you can look up a definition and you know what it means. And then you feel a certain way about a situation, so you want to take a word and make it mean what you feel, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. And it's like, no, at the end of the day, if my mom says, boy, take out that trash, and I say, I don't feel like it, and she said, boy, take that trash out, and I get up and take the trash out, even though I voiced my opinion about not feeling like doing what she wanted me to do, I still cooperated. Cooperation is not what you say in the moment, is the actual action that you take. So if the action that you take was to sit back and allow the man to do his job, because what you said was if if the man wants to proceed a certain way, and you said, well, hey, I think you should proceed this way, and he said, no, I'm gonna proceed the way I want to, and then it all fails, well, that's on him. So then my question to you would be, if he does it the way that you think he should do it, and it all fails, are you gonna say, well, babe, don't worry about that, that's on me because I'm the one who told you to do that? Probably not. So that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, I just think cooperation at the end of the day, let's just solve that, is simply the action that you choose to take. Submissiveness is a mindset. It just really is. It's mentally yielding because your body won't do what your mind doesn't say do.
So I have a question
Yeah.
then to the gentleman who joined us, both of you.
Hey, everyone, by the way. That's all.
Hi.
I missed
Uh,
y'all she critique and all that, man. I was missing
We
y'all. I didn't know
will be
what was
back
going on.
Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard
They
Time.
coming.
That's
They
what's
coming
up. I
back
can't wait.
Friday.
Can't wait.
so
Yep.
to the gentleman, right? Because I, I, I really despise when men kind of demonize women feeling their way through things, at the same time acknowledging that it's a feminine trait to, feel their way through life. But
Mhm.
we're just going to step that to the side. If a woman submits to you, you get the final say, and you make the wrong decision, and she vocalizes that, really lets you have it, that you made the wrong decision, right? Do you still consider that submissive? Do you still consider that cooperative? And here's why I'm asking that question. There seems to be beforehand, before a woman acts in accordance to a man's will, we're okay conflating the two, right? Whether she initially is not reacting or create some sort of resistance and then follow suit, it's cool because at the end of the day you followed suit. But in the aftermath of it, right? If she just doesn't like allow you to just kind of continue on, or just let you know, like, hey, we're both going to acknowledge that wasn't the, if she gives you any more grief than just acknowledging that it was not the right decision, typically, and this is kind of where I want you guys' answer to kind of come from, typically what I've heard from men is, now that's not considered submissive, now that's not considered cooperative. So does that, before the decision is made and after the decision is made, does that kind of shift where you define those terms and how they conflate with each other?
I'll let
I
you got
think
it, podcast.
appreciate
I
that.
have already have an answer, but you got it.
I think the issue that you're describing right now is a high value man's problem, right? The majority of men in America, we're not really dealing with this problem like that because all of the bills aren't on us. This type of conversation is for a man that's in a relationship where he's paying 100% of everything and the woman isn't working, right? And she's gonna still want to be heard, right? And then he's gonna feel like I don't need to listen to you because everything is on me. But when you're in relationships with people where both of you all work and are contributing monetarily, each other's opinions is valued regardless. So that's what I'm saying. I can't even view submission and cooperation the way that you're suggesting it because I don't think that's it. If she gives me way more grief than I need in the moment when I'm trying to repair what just went wrong, that's not about submission or cooperation. She's just being a jerk. You know, I don't need that right now. I don't need the extra stress. What I need for you to do is to come and be like, man, babe, I see that didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? You have any idea what you're gonna do? Yeah, I think I know what I'm gonna do. All right, well, just focus, buckle down, baby. I got you. Need anything like that? You know what I'm saying? Versus, I told your stupid ass in the first place. Okay, if you would have listened to me, boo boo. Like we don't need that. That's not what we need. You know what I'm saying? Like you're the last person that we want to hear that from anyway. You know what I'm saying? My brother can be like, bro, your dumb ass should have did it this way. You know what I'm saying? My daddy, but boy, I told you, dumb ass. You know what I'm saying? But your woman, that's the last person who you want to feel like is doubting you. You see what I'm saying? Like everybody has setbacks. So I had a setback, and now you're gonna come and no, but I don't think that has anything to do with cooperation or submission. We tend to paint this in YouTube space as the woman never have an opinion. Mm-hmm. Never expressing herself. She's never feeling anything. And that's just not reality.
So
I don't think it's so much. Oh, can I just say one thing?
Oh no,
I don't think it's so. I don't think it's so much of women painting the picture as like what you just said. I think it's more so of sometimes men like belittle a woman's feelings of like how she's like, you know what I mean, uh try to act like it's less than.
Wait, let me correct you really quickly. I'm not saying that the women do. I'm saying the men do that.
Okay,
That's
okay.
I'm saying the men tend to make it seem like submission or cooperation means that women aren't supposed to feel or express at
I'm
any
sorry,
time.
I misunderstood what you said. Okay.
Yeah, like if you're not feeling a certain way, or if you're feeling a certain way about something and it's not good, it's not that I don't want to hear it. I definitely don't want it to come off as an attack, though. You see what I'm saying? That's the only thing. You can express it, just don't express it in an attack mode. But I definitely want to know if you're feeling something, and I definitely want to know things from your point of view because I, as a 45-year-old man, understand that sometimes, most of the time, logic is very stubborn. And men can be like horses with blinders on. We get focused, we get what's called tunnel vision, and we ain't trying to hear nothing. But the woman who is allowing me to penetrate her body whenever I want to can definitely give me her opinion on something. I'm gonna just be honest about that. You know what I'm saying? She can definitely be like, hold on, babe. Did you think about that like this, though? I'm just saying, though, think about it. Boom, going back to her TV, right? And I'm like, hey, my baby's smarter than that thing. Boom, let me go ahead and implement that. Then later on, come back, eat the booty like groceries, and everybody's happy.
Come on, man.
And man, look, these little podcasts, y'all know I got to bring the funny with me, right? You know.
So I'm gonna let you
go ahead and weigh in.
So I'm gonna go ahead and let you chew on the booty, but this is not my booty. Let's be clear. Not my booty. Hold on now.
I hope he's not chewing on anybody's booty.
But so I look at it. I look at things a little different. First of all, the first person to know that a mistake was made was the man. Mm-hmm. We already knew. Like, God, oh, she was kind of right, and we'll actually say that in our head, like, damn, she was kind of right.
Yep.
Now here's using, is it Inaz? I don't know how to say it. Enos. Okay. So using that scenario, that's likely a trend. That's likely not the first time that's happened. And if a female behaves like that, I've already cut her loose. Like that, we're not gonna move that way. That's that. She
What
got
do
to
you
heal.
mean? I'm sorry. I maybe I'm missing.
So
In what
so
way?
if a female is coming at you, I told you I should have did it. You should have did it this way. Why didn't you listen to me? I didn't say the blah 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 blah. This is like the third time, and I done told you how to do it, and you decided to do it your own way. No, no, we're not doing that. That typically is a trend behavior, which means she's likely not used to a man listening to her, valuing her opinion, or she's used to somebody taking her for granted. And she needs to heal herself. And that's not a relationship that I'm going to be in.
You
So
know what?
that's something I would have identified earlier, because there is no way that a female I choose would ever speak to me that way. It'd be more like, oh, babe, yeah, you kind of missed the mark. You'll get it next time. Like something along those lines. We can rock with that. We can rock with that.
I
Yeah.
think it depends on how big the consequence is. Because there's some people be making some major decisions and the consequence is huge. And it's like a bad investment, and it's like all of our money, so you're gonna get blessed out for that. Just understand, because that affects me and the kids too. Like little small stuff, you made a simple mistake, knock yourself out. I'll give you a look and keep on moving, but if it's something huge, because some mistakes are huge, life-changing mistakes.
Absolutely. It's not
I'm
a whoops, I messed up, baby. It's you jack things up significantly.
I understand that, but here's the thing. Again, it's not, if that's not a trait she already possessed prior to getting into the relationship, and that was something that was brought out of her from nowhere. First of all, I've gotten a lot better than I used to be. And, like back in the day, you was like, bitch, who you talking to? And we would have that back and forth. I don't move that way. Thus,
Right.
I'm not gonna pick a female that moves that way.
Oh, for sure.
It's just so it would be a complete character break for her if we get that far where it's consequential on both of our lives. If we get that far and I didn't identify that she had this what would be toxic to me trait, I messed up.
And
I chose wrong.
So
I say that because I do know that, and people like to say that was an extreme, but there are people who develop bad habits, gambling. They develop, and so he could have not been that person when you met, but through life, whatever happened, he might go through a midlife crisis. There may be something going on, stress, things make you do things. And so at that point, maybe I'm submissive to you and I don't want to come down on you because obviously, but if you're making poor decisions and they continue to happen, she's going to have to interject. You understand? So I think that, and that happens often.
If
So
he has the right dudes, just real quick. If he has the right dudes in his circle, the one thing about men is men correct men. Mm-hmm. So like if me and Lil Podcast, if we're in the same circle and I'm messing up like that, on everything he gonna tell me that I'm messing up. Like he himself is gonna say, yeah, say bro, you moving foul out here. Like that's just the way guys move. Now there are toxic circles where guys don't like, oh shit, nigga,
don't like to push those buttons.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say men do not always correct men.
That's not the people that.
So I think men correct men who they have the authority to correct them. If they are respected by that man, if they are trusted by that man, those men will hold those men accountable. Now, if those two men don't really have that kind of close-knit connection, that man's gonna wash his hands and say that's not my problem because it can go left really quick. And I do want to acknowledge that about the interactions between men. But Tap, I want to circle back to the question that I asked you and Lil Podcast. I just want to say that you proved my point, right? I think that in advance of a decision, if a woman is uncooperative at first and then submits, then it's cool, right? It's okay. At the end of the day, you had the final say, and everything is functioning as it should be in a relationship. However, if that same level of grief is expressed after the fact, then it's more so considered a toxic behavior, right? So I think this is kind of the trope that women fall into in their issue when it comes to submission and cooperation, is that the definitions are so significantly different, because little podcast said, listen, if we're both contributing to the household, we both have an equal say. It's so individualized to each man that when we talk in generalities, women often get themselves into trouble just being themselves, or trying to conform to the quote unquote general definition of what submission or cooperation looks like. And I think that's also the reason why women differentiate the two. One, because in dating, I don't owe you any level of submission. I can cooperate, because cooperation you can do with anybody without the covering of marriage. And two, what that looks like in practice, the way it's received, the way that it's handled before and afterwards changes from man to man. That, following some sort of socially recognized blueprint doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I see you making a face. I'm curious. What are
I
your
want to know what little pack. I want to know what they, because
Yeah,
laugh.
go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
he's
ahead,
over there
podcast.
giggling. I'm trying to figure out what was funny.
Listen, I'm getting old, right? So it's kind of hard for me to keep track with everything that's said, right? It's the one thing when she says about we're talking about dating, so I don't owe you anything. I'm assuming, let me preface my statement by saying I'm assuming, right? But I'm assuming you're the type of woman who doesn't expect to have to pay for dates.
So I
So
didn't let me clarify. I didn't say I didn't owe you anything. That's
no,
not what I
any
said, right?
submission. My bad for
Submission.
She said
mischaracterizing.
Submission.
cooperate. She
And I'm
wants to
not I'm
cooperate.
not Christian. I'm Muslim, so like my rules of submission are slightly different than the way the Bible kind of lays it out.
Yeah,
However,
yeah.
and that's
That's
cool.
why I
We don't
like
need
dictionaries.
we don't need to get into the semantics, right? But the Bible describes submission between a husband and wife. So if we're dating, there's no submission, right? If we're courting, there's no submission. Submission is between a husband and a wife, a husband and God, right?
Okay, so what made, just really quickly so that we don't have to stay on this.
Mhm.
What made Adam and was Eve's Adam's wife? Yes or no?
Biblically, yes. Yeah.
Okay. So what makes a man and a woman married then? Because they never had no ceremonies, they never had no rings,
Well,
they
let me
never
ask
did
you a
none of that.
question. Do
Just
you
really
want? Let me. I
But
got a
does
question
that?
for you.
But hey, one second, Shan, because I have the answer to this.
okay.
Biblically, even as a non-Christian,
Mm-hmm.
biblically,
Mm-hmm.
laying with someone makes you
Mm,
husband and wife. No, but
mm.
if we preface this conversation in the very beginning that dating does not mean sleeping with somebody, I don't know why we're conflating it at this point in the
Well, I
conversation.
wasn't here for the very beginning, but the only reason why I'm asking you that again, I didn't mean to mischaracterize you. I loathe that, so let me apologize. You did absolutely say that you don't owe the man submission, but even in a dating phase, people do believe they're owed things. You know what I'm saying?
I
Most
don't know
women
why.
don't want. Uh, Come on, Jen. Come on now.
I think
Most
that
women.
that's the problem with related. People don't take it serious. That is the absolute problem with the way we're doing things today. People think that they're owed things from. How about your daughters? You're going to tell her to submit herself to every man who comes her way? Absolutely not. So let's just think about this. Stop being stupid. I understand what society is doing, but it's kind of fucked up right now. You feel me?
Right.
And maybe
True.
that's why. Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't owe anybody anything. He doesn't owe you anything, and it's the same. He does
Yeah.
not owe to pay you this $100 date, and you
Yep.
don't owe him your vagina or whatever you got going on. We're doing it
Yep.
wrong, and that is
Yep.
the reason why this cycle keeps continuing, and we
Yep.
keep coming out with these kids out of all this stuff that's going on. It's all because of that. So
Agreed.
she is absolutely
I
right.
have one more question for the gentleman before we wrap things up. But before I ask you guys this question, the women we've already went over this. I wanted to know, did Kelly Convos have anything she wanted to add to this topic
It just
particularly?
popped up on the screen.
Right. I was like, okay, she's here.
No, I
Wrap
think she's
things
just there.
up.
No? Okay. All right. So that was
And
for
Just for
soon.
just
Yeah.
for the record,
for the
real quick, what if you end up doing what the man suggested, you are cooperating. Like, just because we disagree doesn't mean that you're not cooperating. It means you have a difference of opinion, and if you end up doing what I suggested that I said we're gonna do, then you cooperated. Like, it doesn't get any simpler than that to me. Back
I
to
agree with you on that. No, I agree with that. But what I wanted to know from you guys is do you think that women should multi date, or do you think they should focus on one man at a time? Go for it. And go, little podcast. I already know you ready to let it rip. Go ahead, man.
So this is one of those questions where I'm a bit hypocritical, right? Because on one hand, right, my heart wants to say, find a man, focus on them, make it work, build, have a family, reach 5 million, get to that generational wealth status, do your thing. On the other hand, I have recently grown to understand and sort of have empathy for whores. Like I
Come
really
on, little podcast.
Please.
Why they gotta be whores, man?
listen,
Oh, but
man.
he's saying specifically. He's
Hold on. No, because you have to stand on what you're saying. You have to stand on what you're saying right now. And I need you to make it clear to the people what you mean by okay, so because a woman dates more than one guy, she's a whore. And I'm gonna assume you think that based off of you think she's sleeping with every guy she's dating. Is that correct? Or is she just a whore because she's talking to this guy, maybe going on a date with him? Like, does that make her a whore? If it's just communication, not physical, it's not getting physical. Does that still
So
make her a whore?
no, so you complicated it. You should have just left it. You know what I'm saying?
no,
At the
no,
simple.
you
But
come.
it's
You
you're
come.
making it black and white.
No,
You're
yeah,
being super
that's
extreme.
no
She
because
either
that
has to be sucking and effing, or she has to be doing absolute, like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
there are.
So here's the thing, right? Us men are not going to dumb ourselves down anymore. Okay, we sleep with women, so we know that women sleep around.
So let me
So
ask you a question.
all
I want you to.
just
I
let me
want
just let me get through a sentence.
Projection.
Just let me
He's
get through a sentence.
projecting.
okay.
If you have not heard the word all, please don't insert it into nothing I'm saying. Okay. What I'm saying is this: like when women say, all men do is cheat. Well, who are we cheating with? We're cheating with other women. So we know how women move just as well as women know how men move. So just because every woman on YouTube wants to pretend that they're just dating these men and not sleeping with them, we know that that's not true. So when I say whore, yes, I'm specifically speaking about women who sleep with, have sex with multiple men. That is what I'm talking about.
I have a question.
Listen,
Let me. I have a
go
question.
ahead, please, go
I have
ahead.
a question. So
Mhm.
in majority, okay. So you're saying the majority of men who go on dates, majority of them are sleeping with women on the first night, or even the first majority. So that whole thing that I've
Why
been
is it the
hearing.
first night?
Listen. So that
first
whole
night, second
thing
night, third night.
that
What are you
so
talking
every
about?
woman you've taken on a date, you slept with her on the first night, second night. It's been
Why
that
did
easy.
you add that caveat though? Who
Listen,
said anything about first night?
because what you're
Within the
doing
first
is you're
month.
judging. It's got if you're seeing it like that, that means it happens all the time. Every time you go on a date, you're gonna expect sex. You're getting sex. Not you expect it, but you're getting sex. That's what you're saying.
Within the
No,
first month,
and
absolutely.
I
Okay.
said nothing of the sort.
I'm
Well,
saying within the first month, absolutely.
see, listen. What I'm implying.
If
It's
I want it, inside
I,
that first month, absolutely. It
wait,
was never
let me
been an
say this, Shane.
opportunity.
I get
It's
what you're
never been an
saying, right?
opportunity.
But
because in that case, that 1/3 of men who have never had sex is a lie, because they've all had it. Because I'm pretty sure they've all been on a date.
But
Okay,
not just that.
it's
no,
sex
no, no,
is
no, no, no.
sex is so
See,
easy.
wait. So wait a minute. So wait a minute.
Wait,
Wait a
one
minute. Wait,
second.
wait, wait.
Fast.
One
Nah,
second.
nah.
One second. Because I'm gonna jump in here because I think what Shamboni is saying is super important to what you're saying, little podcast, and I want to re-emphasize it, right? Because that article that came out not all that long ago, about men having the least amount of sex that has ever happened in the history of mankind, men being lonelier than they've been in the history of mankind, recently came out, right? We're talking about the fact that men are really not getting it as much as they're talking about, which means that women are keeping their knees together way more often
Why do
than
you
they're insinuating, right? So what are we really talking about, right? Because if we're talking about somebody in a relationship, we're not talking about somebody who's dating, right? We've made that distinction early in the conversation that dating and being in a committed relationship are not the same thing. Having sex during dating is not the same thing as women who've decided that they're willing to have sex in a relationship, right? Whether that means some women that means marriage, to some women that means a committed relationship, right? So what are we really talking about? Because the statistics, the math is not adding up to men actually having the level of sex that they're portraying that allows them to call women whores.
So wait a minute.
exactly?
So
You
wait a
guys
minute.
are acting like you're scoring every time. Just
No.
If
just
you
go
were
based
scoring
off of
every
you.
time, you would not
Go
be
So
comments
go based off
every
of
5 minutes about women
look
sleeping.
what you're doing. Wait, look
literally
what you're
go
doing.
based
Look
off
what
of
you're doing right now.
what you have right here. Just go based off of all the women you've taken on dates. Any woman you ever taken on a date, were
Right.
you hitting every single time? I can assume probably not. Every single time you were hitting right after you paid for dinner.
If he says yes, I
Listen, and this is why I'm
You're
saying. Well,
like,
let me
I
show you
call
why I'm
cap.
doing this. So let me show you why I'm doing this.
Go
Because
for it.
the argument right now, you said, what are we talking about? Right now, we're talking about your feelings. Again, this is why
We're talking
we
about
can't
facts. This is
see.
that could be proved.
So wait a minute.
Go
Let me
for it.
let me get through. Okay, listen to what I'm saying. I preface my statement by saying if you don't hear me say all, please don't interject there. So what you just said, so you saying all, so you saying every time? Of course not. So let's not play semantics. Let's not do that. What I'm saying is this: if you're gonna tell me that you're gonna use a statistic that says that a lot of men ain't having sex, then we can't be saying all these men are dogs either. We can't say men are whores and they cheating all the time because who they having sex with if ain't nobody having sex? So that's what I'm saying. Let's not play that game at all. Let's just be honest. The question that was asked to me was whether or not I think women should be doing a multi-dating lifestyle. What I said was my heart wants to say Nas, Curves, Shan, Kelly, find you one, focus on him, build, hit generational wealth, get y'all family thing going on. But I've grown to understand and empathize with a horse lifestyle. I understand having a whole phase.
So let me
I
ask you a question.
understand it.
Can you
Listen,
explain what
I get it now.
real
understand a
fast,
core
real
life?
fast.
What does that mean? Can you explain
I'm
that?
Let
never gonna
let
get
let
to
Kelly
explain it.
Combos weigh in right quick. Go ahead.
I'm curious on what you mean you understand the horror lifestyle. What does that mean exactly? Give me
What
an
that
example
means
of
is
horror lifestyle.
okay. So do I actually get to answer it?
Go for
Okay,
it.
thank you. So what I'm saying is this: there are some women out here who will never be marriage material, and then there are some women out here who will be marriage material, but it's probably gonna take for them to get to their 30s or 40s before that happens. And it's just a fact of life. There's no way around it. Not all women are gonna be prepared to be wives at 18, at 21, at 25, and those women get into relationships with men. Sometimes they destroy those men. Sometimes they get together with those men and they destroy each other. And sometimes those men make them worse because they actually be trying to be wifey material, even though they're not. And it just doesn't work out because they choose the wrong kind of guys. Women are very emotional creatures and they make very poor choices, especially when it comes to men. On the other hand, and I know I'm gonna lose my player confidence, but men ain't shit. Like real talk, men be so phony a lot of times. We say one thing, we tell women, hey, listen, y'all can't be out here having no high body counts. And then at the same time, if I take you on a date and it costs more than 500, you owe me coochie. But then that don't guarantee that I'm gonna be with you anymore after that. But every high value man you get with, look, you see him? He's saying, no, cut it out, bro. You drop. And that's what I'm saying. Because I have a daughter, I have nieces, I have women in my life that I care about. And in general, I love beautiful women. compliment them every chance I get. Shantae knows this, right? How many compliments I done dropped on the YouTube page for her. And it's not me flirting. It's just the fact that I actually love women. And so because I genuinely care about them, right, I have to be honest about their experiences. I'm doing an interview series right now where I'm interviewing women and I'm digging into what their lives is like growing up from babies to pre-adolescence to adolescence, teenagers, college life, and adult life to understand their experiences and how we get to the quote unquote modern woman. And what I realize is by the time a woman or a girl for that matter hits puberty, every dude in her life is trying to sleep with her. And that is a hard life to navigate. Every dude is being as nice as they can, saying all the nice stuff, and they all just trying to lay with you. And so then it makes sense to choose the bad dude because at least he being honest. He not just saying this stuff because he want to get with you. He treating you like he don't really care about you and all this and that. So now it kind of makes sense to get with him than to get with all these guys that saying the same thing. Damn, you so fine. I never seen nobody as pretty as you. You the only one I want.
Yeah, but that
You start saying that type of stuff at 9 years old. So that's what I'm saying.
little pocket
These
that
women that are just really quickly, I'm gonna stop. These women who are choosing to forego relationships, they are choosing. This is just what it is. At the end of the day, you're not gonna be sexless, and you're not gonna have one dude who just having sex with you for 27 years and y'all not in a relationship. It's not gonna happen. So you're going to have multiple partners over the span of, let's say, from the age of 16 to 37 when you finally decide you don't want to be a whore anymore. You ready to settle down. You got all your degrees, you done got your house, you done did everything it is you could do in life as far as goals and money and accomplishments and letters behind your name and all of that. And you decide, man, you know what? I don't want to do this no more. I'm ready to settle down. Guess what? All y'all believe y'all got the best coochie in the world and that all of them close back up like this. It don't matter how many people you've been with or how long. So I'm saying now I understand it. I have an appreciation for a woman that says, you know what? I'm not going to get out here and get into these relationships and destroy myself or destroy no man trying to force something when I know that's not really what I'm capable of doing right now. So I'm going to just have my whole phase and do my thing and get all of my accomplishments out the way. And then once I'm mature enough to settle down, I will. And my heart wants to say, no, don't do it. Find somebody, fall in love, have kids. But my mind and my logic is saying, I get it.
it
So I'm
sounds
gonna
like
jump in here,
you're-
little
like
podcast
you
because I
thought
think
you thought this through. Like
It sounds like what?
sounds like this is very rehearsed. Like you thought about this a whole lot. I guess my
I've
issue.
literally been interviewing women for the past couple of months. I've
Right.
been
No,
talking to women all my
that's
life, and I've always loved
and that's
whores.
okay. That's
So
okay. I think that's fine. I don't hate your answer. I think, you know, to some degree what you're saying makes sense.
Mhm.
Here's where I have a few points of contention, right? One,
let me
I
get my
think the
notes.
word whore is
that's what I was gonna say.
crazy.
The fact that you use
Um,
for.
so a whore is a woman who uses sex as a profession. That is
Mhm.
her job,
That's the
right? So we're talking about women who are promiscuous. We're not talking about whores, right? And conflating the two is intellectually dishonest, right? If we're going to be having this conversation. So I think maybe word choice might be important in this case because I think the word whore is what had everybody on the panel kind of sit up. Secondly,
I love whores, by the way.
and
Y'all know.
you're entitled to your
I
opinion,
love
right?
how men like
It
to
is
throw out that word, but y'all be the same men who turn women into whores. But go ahead.
well,
No,
I mean,
no. Wait,
the oldest
really
profession
quickly,
that has
Nas, really quickly.
existed,
Let me say
right?
this, and I'm not going to say the word because I want to respect the panel. But I am an advocate for PORN, and those women are whores. So, and
But
I am an
right,
advocate.
it's the
So,
oldest profession. It has existed for almost as long as humanity has. It's
yeah,
probably not going to go anywhere,
I
right? Like
have
if
way
we're
more
honest,
respect for whores than I do for Instagram models. That's a fact.
I mean, they both get paid, but that's semantics,
Look at
right?
shit. Look at
Um,
shit.
so you know, but here's like the nitty gritty that I wanted to get into.
Yeah.
So often, men demonize women who are promiscuous,
Mhm.
right? and quote unquote disqualify her from being wifey material.
Mm-hmm.
And time again, women are watching these women who are considered whores, promiscuous, sluts, whatever word that you want to use to describe these women,
Mm-hmm.
get a ring, get wifed, get taken care of, get treated the way every woman desires to get treated. And yet men keep screaming from the mountaintops, we don't want these women, and yet continuously choose them to be the mother of their children, to be their representation, to be their social trophies. If we're gonna have this conversation about, we don't want women to be whores, and yet we're marrying these women, as
Mm-hmm.
gentlemen, I really need y'all to let us know what the story is, because to women, the story's not adding up.
I agree.
So can I jump in here real quick?
Shout out to all the whores with a W.
So I disagree with about 90% of what my boy was saying. um, so first, I want to say, so I'm gonna give some history on me. Yeah, if I wanted sex, I won't necessarily say the first date, but probably within that first month. And anyone I've ever taken on a date, whenever I chose it, it occurred. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
Well, let me ask
But
you a
I've gotten older, and I've gotten to a point of of understanding. So to the primary question,
Let me take my.
should women multiple date? No, and this is the reason I say that, because this is where I'm going to hold men and women both accountable for something. Date for a purpose. If your goal is to get married, and that should be the goal, and I'm not saying that's everybody's goal, but I think that should be the goal to dating, then there's no way you can truly have one man. I don't like to say you guys vet them, because I prefer a man to vet a man. So uncle, brother, dad, etc. But if you can't truly vet a man if you're dating multiple men, you just can't do it, because you don't have that singular focus. Um,
That makes sense.
I I say, once you recognize, and it kind of goes back to what I said earlier, once you recognize and identify that the one guy you're not dating is not the guy that you will marry, let him go right then, right there on the spot. Don't waste any more time. Oftentimes, you guys, you females, will get into a position where you're like, I like this, but I don't like this, and he's okay right here, and he's not okay right here. Maybe I can help get him to X, Y, and Z. If that man is
Mm,
not motivated on his own, there's nothing you're gonna do to get him to move in the direction you want him to move in. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. If he's not self-motivated, go ahead and cancel the guy, move on to another guy. So podcast did say something that I completely agreed with. I understand a semi-high body count, whatever that looks like. It's another one of these YouTube talking points. Oh, it's a high body count. Oh,
mhm.
I'll never marry it. How you gonna know? Let's keep it real. Hey, Curves, how many men you done slept with, boo? You, really? What are we talking about? What are we talking about, Nas? Hey, how how many times you done been bent over? Like, how do we know? Like, that is obscene. All we're gonna do is judge it by the way you move. And if you're moving in a way that represents what we want in a wife, then we will continue to go deeper down that path. If not, we guys, and this is where I said I was gonna put more onus on guys, we need to let y'all go instead of wasting y'all time and turn y'all, you know what? Next shoe, she ain't gave it to me this month. Shit. Now my new goal, bust it down and let it go. Believe it or not, that becomes a goal depending on how long we have to wait. I'm just going to tell you the truth. We will make that the mission and have no intentions on ever wifing you up. We will, like, every time you call, we will answer the phone. You want to go rolling? Yeah, we'll go rolling. We 3 months in, shit. We don't waste 3 months of my life. I'm tapping that. We will make that our mission and then let you go, and we will ghost you once we get it because
Creating
we've already
another
made
whore,
a decision.
right?
Well,
Right,
Or
but
creating whores.
I don't
Creating
necessarily
whores.
that's
like that term because I get it. So let's say you got a guy in your phone labeled as pizza, and then one day he hits it. Yeah, you were kind of a whore. You were getting free food out, like you were getting food out of it. Somebody had to pay
There
for
you
it.
go.
Let's
Why
keep.
do men have this misconception that
No,
women can't feed themselves?
I'm,
Like,
That's
I'm
not
just
the
being
y'all
point.
honest.
always
That's
think
not
a
the
plate of
point. That's
food.
not the
for a
point.
And then,
Don't do that,
cheeseburger.
Charles. Don't do that. Don't do
That's
that.
not
I
the point
expect
I'm
more
talking
from
I
you,
about.
brought her a
Charles.
plate of food. She got to give it up. Like, why? You got.
No, that's
That's
not the mindset. Don't do that. That's not what it is. What he's saying is this: is that at the end of the day, we know the same way how women say that men date or mess around with women without any intentions. Women do it too. Y'all date men because they look good, because they smell good, because they got money, because they walk a certain. I was pigeon-toed and bow-legged, and I can't count how many women slept with me because of that. It was no other reason.
I doubt that seriously.
What? Shan, please.
I doubt that seriously
No,
on the
no,
podcast.
let me just say
I
this.
think a lot of men are saying that they're getting it like they y'all aren't getting it like that. Please stop. Like, please stop the cap. It is so annoying. And I know so many men who I have conversations with that aren't getting it like that. They have to beg and plead. Y'all act like simps don't exist. And I do think women should date multiple people at the same time because you guys will always say that
of
women
course you do.
have a time clock. You always say that. So why should you invest 6 months into a guy, find out he's an ain't shit nigga, boom, 6 months is gone. You do that twice in a year, you just wasted a year. You're closer to that red zone phase that Kevin Samuels would talk about. Why not talk to 3, 4 guys and then let them weed themselves out? Okay, you ain't shit. You ain't shit. Okay, now we're down to 2. Why would you put all your eggs in one basket and let a guy screw you over after 6 months? You just wasted your life.
Now
Women
look,
don't have that time to
Why did
wait.
it take 6 months?
hold on. I want to agree with her, right? But my issue with this is where my issue comes with agreeing with women on this. I be trying to have y'all back. But if you can't be honest as well, that's what will make it harder for men like me to be
And
honest.
where are you
What do
I
you
looking
can
mean
be
by
for?
honest?
honest.
Okay.
What's
Where are you
dishonest
looking
about
for your
this?
honesty?
No,
What is
the honesty comes.
what
Hold on, really quickly, really
an honest
quickly.
answer?
Hold on, only one person can talk at a time.
The honesty comes in right here, Shan. Okay, she said y'all act like it ain't no simps out here. Okay, cool. I can admit there's some simps out here. Y'all act like everybody just getting it like that. Okay, I can admit that everybody ain't getting it like that. Man, why waste my time 6 months and this and that? Cool. I'm gonna give you all of that. But at the same time, just because it ain't you, right? Because I know you're gonna say it ain't you. None of these women on YouTube are gonna ever admit that they're sluts
Some
since
of
we
them
can't
do.
use whore, right?
They be on
So
here saying that.
let's just be honest that a lot of the women that's dealing with those 4 dudes at the same time and vetting them out are sleeping with them all. And so what at least if you spent 6 months in 2 relationships at twice a year, that's only 2 people you slept with versus a lot of these women that they be polling 25, 27, and they
Well,
already twice their age with bodies.
What,
Let
well,
me
the
tell you.
podcast,
what I
please, please,
disagree
please,
with is
hold on, please,
sleeping
please, please,
with
please,
guys.
hold
It's
on.
not you, Kerr, so that means it's a
Kelly,
lie.
can I,
I got a
no, no,
question.
no, no. What? Okay, please, first of all, please don't ever disrespect me on that level, okay? What I
Disrespect
was
you. No, I
trying
said
to
it's not
say.
you. I said it's not you.
No, no, I thought you said, is it you? And I was,
No, no,
okay,
no,
I'm
no. I
sorry,
said
I
it's
heard you
not
wrong.
you. So does that mean that I'm giving you the grace? I'm saying it's not you, but that don't mean that it's a lie. It's women that admit to
No,
this.
what I'm trying to say is I don't think a lot of men understand a woman's body. First of all, if you're sleeping with 4 men at the same time, your pH balance is going to be out the fucking roof. It's going to be off
Yeah.
the charts. Let's just start there. Let's just start there. And do you know, like, and I can't speak for
Your,
everyone. I
your,
can just
your
speak
mic
for
is popping,
myself. I have
Curry.
to. I'm
You
Can you
might.
sorry.
hear
Can you
that?
hear me?
It's like it's doing that
Hold on.
staticky thing. You might have to drop down and come back in.
I want
I
to hear this.
understand what she's saying, but Shan, can you be honest that a lot of
Okay.
women don't even know what pH balance is?
Okay.
That's
Let me
not
just say
true.
this.
What kind of women do
Listen.
y'all talk to?
Listen. If we
So
should,
I'm saying
What in the
who is
world?
doing it? And I'm not
let
saying,
me.
and I just want to say that just because a woman, I'm not saying women don't have sex at all. I'm just saying
Yeah.
at least for me, I would like to be in a relationship before I have sex. And if I am dating, and when I say dating, I literally mean talk to. I could be making conversation with you. We're not kissing, we're not going out, and I could actually go out on a date with another person. But it takes me this long to decide if we are compatible or not. And if I don't see that that's happening, I can't even be sexual with you. Like, I feel like men do a lot of projection as far as, oh, y'all go out, y'all could get in between four different cheeks. Women don't want, that's nasty. Let's be honest, that is very, very disgusting. And a lot of you Negroes are dirty as hell anyway. So who is giving up the cheeks to four different men that that doesn't even, like, it just, the math is not mathing for me. And I'm
This
just
is why
speaking
we,
from
but,
my
but
I
Curve,
are
see,
some
this is what I'm
whores out
saying.
here that
As a
are
man, Curve, listen, as a man, I would
Go
sit
ahead.
here and I would agree with you, but it's unfair for you to not agree back when you know these women exist. I used to be, wait, listen, I know men, and I'm not only gonna talk about me because I know I'm fine, but everybody, that don't matter. I know guys that literally would go to the club 2 to 3 times a week, and every night, left with a different girl. Hotel, motel, Holiday Inn.
Listen, okay,
Seriously, a brand new girl every night.
podcast. Time out. Hang on.
Why are we pretending like this don't happen?
No. Hang on. So podcast. Let me level set the conversation a little bit. I don't think anybody is delusional about the fact that there are women out there who are willing to spread their legs for a man. One, because they want to. Two, because they can. Three, because a man talked his way into it. Right?
Okay.
I don't think anybody is going to deny those aspects of it. Right?
Okay.
I think where we're getting wires crossed in this particular conversation is the fact that when we're saying that a woman is saying, look, I'm a pretty girl, I am an educated girl, I know how to cooperate, I understand the dynamic of submission, right? I have all of these attributes that a man typically would find desirable. So I have options, right? I have options. Now, instead of wasting my time and selecting one at a time to vet him out, I'm gonna put y'all in competition and you guys can just weed yourselves out as we go. And I'm gonna let natural selection prove to me who I should be focusing my attention on without spreading my legs, right? Because that multi-dating, there is no prerequisite that a woman has sex to multi-date. To say that, hey, I'm gonna vet y'all in a, you know what? Let me backtrack. We love to equate marriage to business. And we allow businesses to interview multiple candidates in group interviews, in single interviews, multi-level interviews before selecting a single candidate to fill the position. And yet, when a woman applies that same logic to dating that does not require her to spread her knees, we want to be up in arms and say, you doing this wrong. We're gonna label you as a whore, as a slut, as all of these things, when she is literally, if we're equating marriage to business, which people do so friggin' often, we're gonna say you can't interview multiple candidates.
Nas, that's a bad example, Nas. Wait, Nas.
Out in batches.
That's a bad example. Let me help you really quickly.
You're gonna lose out. Just
hold on,
real quick.
hold on really quickly, bro.
I'm actually gonna drop off. Just give me 1 split second on this one.
I'm too.
What you're gonna do is you're going to lose one of the best candidates because you're not able to reciprocate the time that he's asking to get from you. You will lose that because if I notice, I'm like, oh, you know what? I dig Nas. Let me hit her up on Wednesday. Oh no, I'm not available. All right, cool. I understand you're not available on Wednesday. You're available on Friday? No, because I got, like, you're not gonna tell me, but I got Todd over here. I gotta go holler at. Awesome,
real
cool.
quick.
And once I feel that you're not reciprocating that same energy that I'm giving you, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna douche you up. Like, don't worry about it. I'll weed, like you said, natural selection, and you'll continue to be whatever, let's call it lonely. I'm putting quotes. I'm not saying you'll continue
Stop
to be
real
lonely
quick.
and not
Excuse
move
me. Hey,
on.
Hang on
Chance.
real
That's
quick, because
okay.
I have a question that's important to what you're saying,
But
right?
anyway,
Hang on. So I have a question that's really important to what you're saying. It's a two-part question, so bear with me real quick. One, when a man is not transparent about his intentions, is that energy expected to be reciprocated, even though he's giving a whole lot of energy? And two, right? If a man is also multi-dating, I don't understand why there's no compassion for a woman that's also multi-dating.
answer to number one, you should drop him. That's the
Well, how
answer
would
to
you
number
know?
one. He is not being clear to you. If he is not clear about his intentions to you, about you all, you're wasting your time, because at the end of the day, what he is, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, this is the man's secret. If we're not clear, the clear thing we want to do is bust them cheeks. I'm just gonna keep it real with you. To the second
Hey,
part,
can you?
to the second part of your question, and what you got to repeat it for me one more time, real quick.
Wait, let me say this really quickly before I forget it because I'm old. Nah, that was a bad
Bro,
analogy, and
you
the
only
reason
you're only
why.
2 years older than me.
Well, look,
It's not
the
my
reason.
Hey,
analogy.
Let me tell you why
hey,
really quickly, because
Shannon's gonna be
you said
dropping
they
out
compare
shortly.
marriage to business, but you're trying to compare it's dating. It's not, so it's not the same. In a marriage, you're not still interviewing people like a business would be doing. So that's why it's a bad analogy. You're not married yet. You comparing marriage now. You're trying to compare dating, and what I'm saying is when you're dating, yes, the smart play is to date one person at a time, but
But
it's
it's
also a smart play to vet better. That's all I would say about that.
okay. So
Hey, is
for
that
one,
Shannon
it's
for
definitely
you?
not my analogy. So whether you agree or disagree, I don't want credit for it. It's not my analogy. It's the typical go-to analogy, right?
For who?
Literally the entire internet.
Well, they stupid.
And
Don't listen to
taking up with
them.
the internet. That's not
I
on
want to
me,
say real
right?
quick, I appreciate y'all
But
bringing me up. I
Hey,
appreciate
can
Lapeef
can
having me
Shan just
on.
say her last final words? I don't think she was trying
I,
to speak
Yeah,
up a
somehow she
second ago.
got
I
to
just
go to
want her.
work.
I said, honey, that went a long
It's
time ago.
gone.
It's
You
Okay,
ain't got
all
no
right,
Thanks,
job,
ladies.
Craig.
it's
all
gone.
right,
It's out of there.
all right.
Okay, well, go
Craig,
ahead.
Craig talking about she got to go to work. You ain't got no job,
I
Craig.
have at 6 o'clock in the morning. Gotta go to work.
You only need 4 hours of sleep
No. I
at all age.
find the conversation to be interesting. The whole whore thing, like it's amazing that men think that women are just. What I did want to say, we're just jog my memory. I think what has, because I see the same women that you're talking about, and I do see them, and I call them the loud minority. Okay, what has happened is social media has emphasized these types of women. And unfortunately, what has happened is the women who do try to do right, they're getting that name, and they're not doing the things that those women are doing. And
I'm gonna do right.
do right, like me, women
Can we
who
bring this back up Friday, please?
no. 'Cause I think it's a rumor that a lot of women are promiscuous, and that's not true. Because it's a little bit. I think that men don't understand what it's like to have a vagina, and so it's a little bit that goes into that. And I don't even understand how those women do it. I just don't understand it at all. I think they just don't. That's got to be a hygiene thing. But and so I like what Kurz had to say about that part of it. And there's so much to tap into that. That's a whole conversation on its own. But I hate that men do categorize every woman. Oh, no, ma'am. Take that off. Take it out. Don't take it off.
Who did it? Who's responsible?
I don't know. I think it's JR. It's got to be. So I do think I hate that men do that. And I think that that's the reason why we try to create this space. And along with the She Critique, it's because we wanted to show women who are the silent majority, to show a different type of woman, because we see the other type of woman all the time. For whatever reason, I think y'all just go out and pick them because they want that shine. Those are the women who are loud. They want that shine. And so they speak and they're just talking. And it's like, oh my God, just stop talking, because it's not like that at all.
But we don't see with the problem. The problem I have with this, I got 5 words for you. You are not the father, and we have seen this too many times play out. We know.
You listen, yes, but even with the "you are not the father," there are millions of people that he is the father. Like you take these look, so it's entertainment purposes. And
Right.
this is not everyday reality. Yes, there are men who are sleeping with people and they are not the father. Absolutely, you got you one, okay? But that's not all women. It's just not.
Y'all
It's
see this?
All
What I'm
right.
saying? Saying I
they
love
all
y'all.
have something in common. They all kind of look like, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna keep it a buck. I love She Critique. I really was missing everyone around. My favorite panels is 6 women, 4 men, and that's usually how She Critique is shut up. So I love that show.
Well, we'll
But
be back
y'all gotta, but
Friday,
listen,
9
y'all gotta start being honest. We
But we
cannot
are.
build these conversations on bullshit. We have to be honest.
So what we are is we are showing you, all we can do is tell you our experience, okay?
Mhm.
So we keep feeding into other, so when women get up there and they say they're promiscuous, that's them sharing their experience. We're here to share our experience. Yes, we recognize that they have their own experience, but you also need to hear our experience, okay? Because we're not all the same.
Yeah.
And that's
But no, but what I'm saying, but wait, who's saying they promiscuous on YouTube?
Oh, a lot of women do. They give I
Oh
can do
wow.
the same thing he do.
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
wow,
They're
yeah.
like
I
the
don't.
Amber Roses. Like
They do.
Oh no, I ain't talking
out
about them. See, that's I ain't talking about
But I'm
I ain't
saying
talking
they're
about.
out here. There are women who are honest about being promiscuous and doing things that are not traditional. There are women, so don't say that all women lie. I'm
No,
sure
I'm
there are
talking
women who
about
have
here though,
values.
Curves. I'm talking about on these podcasts and these YouTube streets that we in.
So that's the problem. So you hear something that we're telling you to be our truth, and you think it's a lie.
No, I don't. I believe you.
So because
Yeah, I
other
believe
people
you.
are saying that they do it this way. No, we're here to tell you what we do, because we're tired of people speaking for us and we don't live that life. That's the problem.
And
And
I
so
want
we
to be
wanted
clear.
to.
There are some.
Yes, we
But
wanted to bring a different group of women up. And don't get me, my background is not perfect. You know what I'm saying? I have 2 kids out of wedlock, but does that mean I was sleeping with everybody? No, that just means I was sleeping with 2 men in a relationship, one of which was 10 years, So we're just trying to let you see from different points of view that these are the things, these are people's lives. This is what happened in this situation. This is what happened. And so that you won't think that we're all that chick who defends, sleeping with guys, taking him for everything he's got, all that kind of stuff. We want you to see a different type of woman, because we're in the world too. And guess what? We are the majority. We're just a silent.
But there
You walk
are.
outside your listen. So when you walk outside your house, when you walk outside your house, all you see is black women twerking. All you see is bonnets for the majority.
Yeah.
Listen, let me have Curves. Give me a second.
The bonnets, yes. The twerking, no. The twerking, no. But the bonnets, fuck yes.
Podcast.
Bonnets and leggings.
Listen, leggings is listen.
No,
podcast. You're not, because when I go to the
there
store,
there are hoes out there. So I don't
wait, Curves. I want you to peep something. This is what Shan said. Shan said, when we tell you our truth, you don't believe us. Now I'm telling you my truth, and you telling me I'm lying.
Listen, you know what? You may live in that neighborhood where bonnets is popular. I don't know.
Bonnets and leggings. I'm telling you what it is.
So we take something like the airport, okay, or something that somebody, okay. When you go in and you put all the black people in there together, they're not all wearing bonnets. Majority of them not wearing, but the ones who are just stick out like sore thumbs. So we kind of remember them a little bit more because they stick out like sore, but they're not the majority. Majority of the women that you come across on a daily are dressed correctly, modest. It's just you focus in on the chick who got a booty out. That's what the focus is, but they're not the majority. They absolutely.
But that's not what we're talking about. We right now we only talking about sex. And what I'm saying is we cannot on one hand have women doing slut walks, and then on the other hand have women saying we're not really out here sleeping with nobody. Like it can't be true.
So you're saying because you're saying that because she decides to open her legs, that means I'm opening my legs too.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this: if you told me, this is what I'm saying. If you say to me right now, man, it's a lot of men out here making babies and not marrying these women, I'm not gonna sit here and act like that's not true. So when the men are saying, so when the men are saying, yo, we listen, I know we laugh and I'm not supposed to do this, bro. I have slept with so many women, so many married women in relationships that I had no business sleeping with. That's what I'm saying. We not all lying. We
So
are
let me
literally out here.
I don't.
Wait,
I don't.
listen. Me and my Nas, I swear to God, my right hand, my
we're
mama,
not
my
taking it
kids.
away from you. But
Wait,
what
No,
wait,
we're
just
hang on.
listen to me
No,
really
hang
quick,
on.
really
Hang on.
quick. 3 seconds. Me and my homies used to get together. Hey, it's 7, 8 o'clock at night. We get together, we go grab some bud, we go grab some liquor, and we riding. And we see chicks and we scooping them up. And they coming with us back to the crib, to the telly. We going to the club, we meeting
kind of
women,
women
and they
are these?
coming home with us.
What
Like
kind of women are these?
Oh, hang on.
wait,
Hang
oh
on one
wait. We
second, because I'm on a
again
level
remember this
set.
now. We talking about young people, so we're not
Wait.
talking about no 35-year-old established woman. We
So
talking about
How
women
are
in
you
between
just
the ages
picking
of
up women on the
18 and
side of the
30.
street? Are
so
these
podcast.
prostitutes?
Hang on one second.
No, they
First,
weren't prostitutes.
let me hang on,
They
because
can
I
take them
think,
for $3.
Well,
because here's
podcast,
the
you
thing,
getting
right?
carried
I think
away. Yeah.
I
what
like
podcast
prostitutes too,
is
though.
saying, I think is true, right? But here is where my point of contention is.
You
Ready?
always got a point of contention.
I do. I got a lot of pushback because, although men like to think that women are not logical, I think women have critical thinking skills, right? And when things don't make sense, I'm always going to call it out because I love to be able to understand people. Here is where my point of contention is. By
Okay.
definition, a woman who is promiscuous, who has multiple partners, typically is not the same dude. Typically, the women who are out here having sex with a lot of people are having sex with multiple men, right? So these men that are having access to women, I really would not be shocked if a lot of them are having sex with the same woman, right?
Right.
And here is where like the whole thing kind of falls apart for me, is we're taking these women that are making their way through certain communities and we're applying it to the generality of women, right? Just because a woman has had sex or has had more than one partner, we're equating her to the same woman that's out here. I'm going to say this in as politely as I can, doing community work, right? Like that's they're not the same woman. We can't equate a woman who has had sex or who is very picky with the people that she has sex with to be the same woman that is out here giving her body like to better the community. They're not the same, right? And so when we're talking about these men that have access to women or who are getting women easily or it doesn't take much to get to, we're not talking about the woman who is multi-dating and keeping her knees together. We're not talking about the woman who truly sees value in herself past her vagina. We're not talking about the woman who is selective about her partners. We're not talking about the woman that has seen the error in her ways and is now choosing to wait till marriage. We're not talking about the same group of women, and yet we want to put women in the same category, but men do not want to be put all in the same category. So what conversation are we having when we're conflating everybody into one big group and being told, no, I'm an individual. I want to be viewed and valued for who I am. But we're going to see the opposite sex as all in one of the same. Like podcast earlier, you talked
Not
about
what's
how
happening.
we can't say that all men are dogs. There's not a single woman that has been on this panel that has ever made anything even close to that statement, right? So what are we really talking about when we're lumping people into one whole category for an entire gender when that doesn't make sense? Like that's not a logical thought.
The reason why,
I
but
think
that's an
what
emotional response because at the end of the day, listen, here's the thing. Wait, here's the thing before you start shaking your head. Listen, Kwame Brown is known as probably the worst basketball player ever. But you know what? He was in the league. He was in the same league as Michael Jordan. He's still a basketball player. There's a conflation there, but it's based on generality. We can still pick and choose. If I know Curves and Curves is on the panel with 3 women and I know those 3 women are whores and Curves is up there with them, I might be like, man, look at them hoes on that panel, right? Just in generality. If somebody be like, yeah, I know Curves a hoe too, I'll be like, nah, I ain't gonna lie, I know her. She ain't no hoe. You see what I'm saying? So I can make the difference. I can be differential when it's cause. But in conversation, you have to speak in generalities because you're trying to move the conversation forward. You can't spend all day saying, well, women are whores, except for Curves, except for Nas, except for Shant. You just have to move the conversation forward. We're not trying to lump everybody together. Wait.
The thing
Not
about
lumping
this,
everybody together. But what I will say is this. You're 25, 35, 40 years old, never been married. You probably have had sex with 10 dudes or better. You got kids out of wedlock. See, you shaking your head. No, but this is average, Nas. That's what I'm saying. You're shaking your head. No, but the women have responded. They have said, yeah, this is what it is.
So what we're
We
saying
sleep with who we want to sleep with.
Every woman.
But it ain't every. That's what I'm saying. That's a bogus argument. That's a disingenuous argument.
No, because everybody
every.
we don't know if it's bogus or not because you didn't interview every woman.
We don't have to. That's what I'm
Not
saying.
just
That's what
that,
makes
but
it a generality.
Podcast. Hang on, because
People-
here's my big beef with this conversation. Like honestly, like I'm so sick and tired of hearing it, and here's why. At the end of the day, when men say that garbage about women, men are the first ones to scream, not all men. We're not all the same. You can't put us all in the same category, and yet you do it to women. That's not, but generality means, but generality is as close to all as you can get. Right?
It's not.
Dion,
Generality.
It is a generality. Hang on.
Hold on.
Please,
Everybody
Curve,
goes
correct
based off
them.
their experience.
But
everybody goes based off their experience.
Yes,
and this is what his experience has been. This is how he views the world in regards to women. So you can't say that that's not the truth for him. And the same thing goes for you. This is how you view the world. So we're having an argument, but you guys see the world in two different ways, and humans in two different ways. So
no, I think not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
What do you mean?
Right? It's not.
This what you're saying though, Naz. You're saying don't generalize women, right? But this is what you're saying. Somebody say something like, you know, women are whores, and then you're coming to defense to say, well, not all women. Well, if they're talking about a specific set of women, and you know there's women who exist that don't fit that bill, then you wouldn't even have to defend that. But you're defending women who are whores.
You're not.
No.
You can
hang on. But give me 1 second, Shan. So podcast, that's not at all what I'm saying, and this is why I keep shaking my head and why I keep raising my voice. Right? That is not at all what I'm saying. Podcast, what you just said is that if Curves is on a panel with other women that are whores, that your mindset goes to guilty until proven innocent. That generality is dangerous because that is as close to all as you can get to without saying all. That is my point of contention. You are telling people out there that unless you can prove to me that you are not one of those people that I'm talking about, I'm going to assume that you are part of that category. That is...
That's the way the world
birds of a feather fly together?
That's the way the world works.
Because we're not even getting to that. That is saying that if you are a bird, that is assuming that you are a specific kind of bird, right? Like we're not even getting to the birds of a feather, right? We're not even saying y'all have to be the same color. We're saying as long as you are a bird, as long as you have feathers, you are a specific kind of bird. That is the most illogical comment that I could possibly hear as an argument, right? Because here's the thing.
Wow.
Intellectually, that is so lazy. You are choosing not to discern, not to use your critical thinking skills to see what kind of woman is this that I'm actually dealing with, that I would rather miss out on potentially a good thing by just assuming, literally assuming that you belong to this category. That's wild to me.
But I get
I
what
could
little
bust that up,
podcast
but
is
you ain't
saying.
gonna be honest.
No, I get what little podcast is saying. Not that you should generalize all people, but the people you hang around does say a lot about you. Are you going to be hanging out with Jeff Epstein and Bill Cosby and people who were, you know, accused of all these
we gotta
bad
bring Bill in this.
and not think, all right, whatever.
They be doing
Just
it to little
whoever's name
girls.
you want to use. Whoever you want to use has been accused of some bad shit, right? Because he's with them. If Lil Podcast is hanging out with them, are you not gonna think, what is this nigga on? You know what I mean?
Facts.
Like, and he could be the most clean cut, never messed with nobody, never did nothing sketchy, but because he's with those people, you're looking at him funny. So I get what he's saying, and I get what you're saying. It's small minded not to give people their own chance, but who has time to do that every time?
No,
But you know what?
Right,
I
especially what we just talking about in
Here's-
conversation.
hold on.
We just talking about in conversation.
Give me 2 seconds, because I think this is important, right? Because Curves, I hear what you're saying, but we assume that, like, the dope boys or the guys who can't get any are the ones that are hanging out with whores. So do politicians. So do successful other men. So do businessmen. So everybody hangs out with whores. Everybody. Does that mean that they're all shitty dudes? Does that mean that the dude who won't hold his friend accountable for cheating is also a cheater? Does that mean that because you work with somebody who moves a certain kind of way that you're automatically the same caliber of character? Like, it's lazy. It is really lazy to say that just because you have some sort of vague association to people.
Most people are lazy. Most people
No,
are going to
but
generalize.
hang on, because
maybe not you. Maybe not you, but most people are going to do that. You see Christians hang out together, they're all Christians. You're not like, oh, she pops that pussy on Saturday night. You're just going to group them all as Christians. You know what I mean?
But let me,
I'm just saying, like,
we often bring Christianity into conversations. Who did Jesus hang out
I
with?
could have used anything.
Who did Jesus hang out with? I want somebody to answer that question. Who did Jesus hang out with? Because it wasn't Christians.
Let's get away from that, because that's gonna get ugly.
Why? It's the same answer.
Because you ain't gonna want to talk about 12 through 30. That's why.
Wrap this up, you guys.
Yeah, we do. Let's wrap it up. But real fast, I understand it from both points. I think Inaz is saying we shouldn't be lazy because it doesn't, just because you see it doesn't mean it's true. Because you just think about it this way on a bigger scale. But I get what Curves and you are saying, because on a bigger scale, they do us that way. You see a man with a hoodie on, you think if you're not black, you automatically assume he's up to no good. That's human nature. That's just the way it is. Instead of they're being lazy, they don't want to do the work. Like, oh no, he's a college student, and so he's profiled because he has that look. Okay, doesn't mean it's right. Absolutely not. In a perfect world, we wouldn't do that. So I get that, but that's why we're going to keep having these messages, these conversations. People will get to know us. They'll know, with time, and that's our whole purpose in being here.
I just want y'all to just bring one horse-sized promiscuous woman. We need one, because you can't have a panel full of women.
Them girls you done slept with, please give us the reference to one of them girls
for you, little podcast. But thank you for stopping by. Please come back next week. B. Taylor will be here. We will have a therapist up here. Thank you all for joining us tonight.
You coming back Tuesday? You on Tuesdays now?
Monday.
You said what?
Monday. So you doing Mondays now?
Monday. Oh, we're all did this. This is the solution, and it's on Monday.
Yeah, this is the solution. Okay. B. Taylor is normally the one who's doing the hosting.
I'm gonna tap in with y'all, man. I'm proud of y'all.
And make sure you tap in Friday night, 9 p.m.
Oh, you know I'm gonna be there Friday. I've been looking for y'all. That's a fact. She critique in the building. Double C's, baby. All right, y'all. Hey, salute JR in a minute.
Yeah.
All right, see y'all.
Bye.